Golf clap. Hello. Welcome to Xbox Nation. It is Wednesday night, folks. Let's do a couple lines of blow and get this thing cranked up. There's a lot to talk about. Obviously, there is a little bit of a difference between the people that we normally have and the people I have here now. She-Wolf and GKB both had something come up, so they couldn't make it. So I scrambled around, and actually She-Wolf helped get some people in here. So I'll do introductions real quick. We got Hell Hammer, who is actually right now the long-standing member. So he gets introduced first. What's up?
Not much. Glad to be here. There's a lot to talk about today. So,
hell yeah, man! And then we got Dealer Gaming dealing out those death cards. What's up, bro?
Wow, introduced second. I feel special. I kill off the other two permanently. Maybe I get introduced second from now on. Huh? No, yeah, we'll definitely miss GKB and She-Wolf here. But yeah, today we've got some interesting things to talk about.
Yeah, we'll plot along. I seen you tweet earlier. You were a little bit upset. You got some dislikes, man. I was like, man, that's a little amount of dislikes. I'm used to a lot more than that.
Nah, it wasn't the fact that they were dislikes. It was the fact that they were anti-consumer dislikes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when you say, hey, both platforms are great, right? They basically Microsoft, Sony wouldn't be who they are without each other, and people still dislike because you've got some information on a Scorpio CPU that's possibly better than what's out there in the PS4 Pro.
Yeah.
That's a problem. You know, it's not the dislike. We've gotten 1,000 dislikes on a video before. Shit. I hear you though.
Me too. Yeah. Well, dude, I hear you because I've said that shit too. I would say something like, yeah, man, both are good. Just play what you want. Blah, blah, blah. And then you still get a bunch of dislikes or whatever. And it's like, whatever. They probably didn't even listen to it or anything like that. So kind of it is what it is. Rand, Al, Thor, the man with the million. How you doing? Thank you for coming in and helping us out.
Sure, I mean, I'm back again on Xbox Nation. It's been a while. I think I did like 40 of these things.
Yeah, you did. You did a whole
time.
bunch, and then you like took a break. You got burnt out, which that's understandable, man. I've done that whole tour thing.
Burnt out, school, and all that other stuff, man. It's hard, and I'm swamping my own stuff. So, but I'm here.
Yeah.
You put out the Rand signal up in the sky. I saw it. I'm like, all right, let's. We got some stuff to talk about. It's gonna be a good. It's gonna be a good show.
Absolutely, and I seen you're busy with your channel, man. You were on that breaking news with the Microsoft stuff today, man. That was that's the way to do it, man. Whenever you can break with the news, that's
when I say I'm gonna do something, unlike Hellhammer, I do it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Hellhammer, if he tells you to troll, if his thing was trolling, then he does that shit all the time. Like today, he was going on about how Xbox was done, and they were moving their conference today because they wanted to get away from PlayStation and they're about to leave the console industry. Trust me, I heard it all. It was pretty hilarious. And we've got our buddy Magic Mike from the Console Corner. How you doing, bro?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much for having me on. She-Wolf and GKB may not have been able to make it tonight, but we still got some Console Corner goodness up in Xbox Nation.
Hell yeah, man. I appreciate it. It's very well welcomed. And hopefully you guys are all ready for some good times and some good topics. I'm going to let the people kind of filter in a little bit, and we'll hit on some other stuff. First thing, this has got to be good. Sony cancels PlayStation Now on they've canceled it on PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita, Samsung TVs, Sony TVs, only leaving PlayStation 4 and Windows 10 as the options for this. Now, what's interesting about this, I never thought this was going to be something that picked up or that did well for them. But I will say that I think it's interesting, and here's my opinion on it. I think they're prepping to do PlayStation 4 games on this service. And the reason why I say that is because it would work well as like a rental service on PlayStation 4, and it would work well for PC people who aren't going to get consoles because they're just stuck up and they want to play PC to rent the game on their PC. And I think that would make sense. That's going to flip off a lot of fanboys, but at the end of the day, guess what? I always say this. Us as console gamers, 99% of the games we buy and play are multi-platform. 98% of those games are available on PC, yet we still play them on consoles because we're console gamers. So with that being said, there's no competition there. Like Microsoft doesn't see the PC as competition. I don't think Sony sees it that way either, really. I mean, yeah, they've said the Pro is to stop competing platforms or whatever, people from leaving for PC, which I thought was bullshit. But, to me, this signals a huge failure in, the acquisition of Gaikai and I said all along that American consumers in particular would not be interested in a Netflix streaming type service for video games. Proven right. It took a little while.
Well, and
But
it makes a
there you
lot
go.
of sense for them to bring PS4 games into the service now because they're dropping all this other hardware. Like, you know, if you had a PS Vita and a PS3 and you don't have a PS4 yet, why in the world would you ever buy a PS4 if you can stream, you know, PS4 games through PS Now directly to those older systems?
Yeah. See, that was my thinking. Like, and I said that on M4G, and I got a 24-hour ban.
You're always
I said you
banned from there.
Every time you mention that place, like I said this on F4G and they banned me again.
Yeah, you know, I get banned a little bit. I don't know. Like, it's funny because, like, doesn't that make sense though? Like, Rand, you're a level-headed guy, so wouldn't it make sense to right before you start offering PlayStation 4 games on the service to take it off the PS3?
Well, yeah, I mean, because they want you to upgrade to a PlayStation 4. They don't care if it's a Pro or a regular, you know, PS4. And I'm sure there's millions of people that play on PS3 still, just like there are millions of people that play on the 360. So if you could offer the people on PS3, hey, you can play Uncharted 4 right now without needing a PS4, I think that's a bad business move. So they obviously probably thought the same, and they're like, you know what? We're going to drop this from PS3 and kind of force those users to upgrade to a PlayStation 4 at some point.
Yeah, upgrade. I'm sorry, it just reminds me of somebody who was kicking Hellheimer's ass in Gears yesterday.
I mean, you know, because I have a Samsung TV, the 4K one, and I have PlayStation Now on it. I could use it. So I wonder, did they say anything about that? Like, is it just PS3 and Vita?
No,
It's
Samsung TVs,
Samsung TVs too.
Sony TVs, even the Sony TVs are cutting it out. Which again, the only reason why that makes sense is because you're about to offer PlayStation 4 games and you want people to either buy your console or they're not going to buy it either way, and so they'll stream it on PC, which I can see that as a reasoning.
So I have a question then. If a lot of PlayStation fans don't consider a lot of the Xbox exclusives true exclusives because they're on PC and Windows 10 as well as Xbox One, and if Uncharted 4 can be played on a Windows 10, would that game not be exclusive then?
It would still be exclusive because the narrative would change.
Oh,
and you know, because you wouldn't be able to quote unquote own it. So like, I can think like a PlayStation fanboy right now. Like, oh well, you don't own it; you're just renting it.
Oh, so the narrative. Okay, that silly narrative. It's always changing. It's ever shifting, ever changing all the time.
Yeah, it's constantly in movement.
Yeah, it's in flux. You know, I mean that's what it is, and it's always funny to see it change. And then you mention that it changed, and people act like you're fucking stupid, and that you're crazy. They're like, "What? No, we weren't the ones that started #ResolutionGate. That was Xbox fans that started that. You guys were the ones that were unhappy with the resolution, and so you started ResolutionGate." And sometimes you just have to scratch your head and say, "What the hell are you smoking?" Because that's nothing like what happened. What happened was places like NeoGAF were like ResolutionGate, Eurogamer was like ResolutionGate, and next thing you know, that started the thing, you know what I mean? Because they wanted to push the narrative to Sony's, you know, positive point, which was they had the more powerful console, higher resolution. Dealer, what do you think about this? I mean, failure, right? I mean, you pretty hot topic. I mean, what do you think?
You're absolutely right when it comes to these guys shifting the narrative. If I can kind of digress on that point for a second, because it's worth hammering home. I mean, this is what kind of you got to be drinking bleach. I don't understand how some of these people can forget some of this so quickly. And it all really started because of sites like IGN and GameSpot wanted to make some money, and this stuff got clicks, really, and that just perpetuated it further. So when it comes to all of course, Sony dudes were talking power for 3 years. You can't go back on that. There are montages of all the stories and articles and things we covered last week. You can't reverse it. Right? It's not malleable. It's done. So we can move past that into the future where the tables have turned. And if you've been pushing power for this whole generation, then that's going to be a problem for you. That's as simple as it gets, because you're being outclassed in 7-8 months. So that's good. But anyways, when it comes to PlayStation Now, they've already teased games like Uncharted for PS Now a while back, right?
Yeah.
They've already teased PlayStation 4 games for PlayStation Now, and when Sony dudes come to your comments and say, "Well, it's on PC, so we're not counting it," this and that, but they'll still count games like Ni no Kuni and some of these other titles they like to play for some reason that are also confirmed for PC. You have to scratch your head because obviously it's coming to PC. Why else would they bring PlayStation Now to PC? If they weren't planning on expanding on it? You think those games are going to last forever? Like, you think people are going to want to go back and stream Batman Arkham City for PS3? You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the types of titles that you can stream on PS Now, but you've also got The Last of Us, you've got the Uncharted games on there, if I'm not mistaken, the earlier ones. You've got God of War. All those franchises are already
pretty much. I mean, and I've actually tested it out on my computer before. I mean, and it runs fairly decent.
All of those franchises are on PC already. So you are right, though. I heard somebody say, well, you're not playing it locally from the device, so it doesn't count. And I'm like, you're an idiot, because I can play it. I can play it somewhere besides your PlayStation 4. So by your logic, it does count,
Yeah. Well, like I said, this was something, the writing is on the wall, and a lot of people want to refute my logic, but it's irrefutable, people. You're going to remove it. It's irrefutable. I'm dangerous. I'll eat your kids. Hold on. Sorry. So anyway, you fuckers, I get one laugh. Come on. That was a pretty good Mike Tyson impersonation.
I'll eat your kid.
I'll eat your kid. He keeps butting me, guys. He keeps butting me. My kids are going to become a monster. He keeps butting me. Like I said, I called this out months and months ago. I said PlayStation Now is an unequivocal failure. They paid almost $400 million for this thing. People want to talk about, when I was on BGST, Zaire was talking about how buying Rare was a failure because they paid $350 million. How about you pay more than that for this service, and then you take it off your platforms because it sucked? And you know what I mean? The only way they're going to make any money on this is by offering PlayStation 4 games. And like you were saying, Dealer, you can already play all the Uncharted 1, 2, and 3. You can play God of Wars. You can play a lot of that stuff on the service on PC. And I want it to happen, not because I would play that on PC, because I have PS4 and PS3 and all that stuff, but just to see the reaction and the meltdown from people. I think that would be
right. When they bought Rare, they got more than just the moniker. They got more than just the name. They got the building. They got all the technology they've been developing, down to their very PCs they developed games on. They acquired all of it, right? So they didn't just buy something that kind of just set static. That team is working on things that are going to make them millions of dollars over the next decade, tens and tens, if not hundreds.
Absolutely.
So that's a little different. Definitely a better investment.
Hell yeah, man. I thought that was 100% accurate. And the fact that they're taking it off TVs and stuff, I always thought that was funny, because some of the Sony fanboys flipped out a little bit when you brought up that you didn't even need a PlayStation product to play some of their exclusives, because you could just play it on a TV. And I always just thought that was kind of hilarious. And
and what you were saying at the beginning, the reason they are restricting platforms is basically they are getting rid of the lowest common denominator when it comes to hardware, and basically even PlayStation 3 can't handle as much bandwidth as even PS4, as little bandwidth as that can handle compared to Xbox, right? The amount of bitrate they allow into the system. So they definitely are trying to optimize what the best two platforms they have, Windows 10 and PS4, for higher bitrate games like PlayStation 4 titles that are going to be coming through in the next year. Undoubtedly, the next year you'll hear something about it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And just imagine, like, if they could have gotten PS4 games on the PS3 or something, like, that's going against
like
yourself.
you said, they want to force you to upgrade, just like when they closed down MLB The Show servers not even a year after the next one came out. Gran Turismo 5, when Gran Turismo 6 came out, they like to force people to upgrade.
They didn't get any shit for that. I think I was one of the few people. I did a video about that. I was like, look, they closed down MAG, they closed down SOCOM Confrontation. Both those games were online only, and nobody said a word. Yet people were bitching about EA, who had shut down some servers to games that were like 5 years old. And I was like, it's unbelievable the free pass that Sony gets on a lot of this stuff. It does. It makes you scratch your...
Trademarking Let's Play or what it, like if Microsoft had done that, holy shit,
Those were some of my least watched videos, right? When I did a couple videos, because they tried to trademark that shit multiple times. And we tried to get Boogie to do a video on it. We tried to get Angry Joe to do videos on it. Then they're like, no, we're not doing videos on that. You know what I mean? But we're like, you know,
UWP, we'll do a video on that.
Yeah. Wait, did they do a video on UWP?
Angry Joe did. He's fucking.
Oh my god. Well, I mean, that guy's not really relevant. Like, I think I maybe watched 1 or 2 things that he's ever done. So
I mean, I like the guy, but it's obvious when he's going, like, you know, it's obvious when the guy's going for clicks.
Yeah, it's like a character, like, and I get that, you know, it's because I know a little something about that, but it's like, you know, he tries too hard with that character to hate on Microsoft, you know. It's like, I don't know, that whole thing is kind of
like all of a sudden he gave a shit about Scalebound when it got canceled.
Yeah, like all these people that didn't talk anything. Yeah, like they didn't care one little bit about Scalebound. Nobody was talking about it. In fact, Scalebound was mostly said to be, it looked like a 360 game, is what I heard a lot. They're like, wow, that looks like a 360 game, and I'm like, hey, what the hell 360 were you playing? That's like when they said that about Gears 4. They're like, Gears 4 looks like a 360 game, and I'm like, what the fuck kind of 360 do you have, man?
Well,
You're getting
like,
a lot of juice out of that thing.
Like that's
just
Unreal
the
Engine 4
narrative,
at 1080p, you stupid moron.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it gets fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Like some of the stuff and the narrative does change, but it is a little bit hilarious. And yeah, so a little bit of Microsoft news as well. Forza Horizon 3. 2.5 million units as of December 2016, and this is mostly for North America because this was according to the NPD. If you read the fine print, and this is physical sales, so digital could be way higher, and you could also have like the European, like UK Forza always does well there. This game could easily.
I want to ask you before we go any further because we've got to get the elephant out of the room. I want to ask you, how the fuck did they do this when they only sold 8 Xbox Ones?
You know what? I think that we all bought multiple Forza Horizon copies. I think that's exactly
I bought like 30. You know, it was a limit for me.
Yeah, like, you know,
I limit myself about 200 copies. I made my computer desk kind of a stack of copies of Forza.
You're right though. Like how did this happen? How did Flopsa sell?
It was just the 6 of us. We bought tons of copies and put them in the desert next to ET.
And you know what's funny is
sell that much? I don't know.
My boy Tim Dog keeps Xbox alive because he owns like 20 Xbox Ones. So you know, like it's him alone that keeps Xbox alive. Plus, every time you buy an Xbox One, an angel loses its wings. So people actually go out of their way to avoid buying the Xbox One. But yeah, I think this is a fantastic thing because everybody's like Forza flops, and it's just a niche thing or whatever.
Crap. The reason because of that is because Microsoft doesn't share numbers anymore. So people speculate on things they know nothing about. I mean,
they think no numbers is bad numbers.
Right. So like you have Sony touting numbers, you know, out the wazoo because they're market leader and that's what market leaders do, right? So Microsoft's in this position where they can't say anything. So people speculate and stuff. How did Forza do? Did it, you know, like Dealer said, Flopzilla, right? Or, you know, whatever, Flopzor, or and then you like, what did Gears 4 do? Like people speculate on these things and they have no clue because we don't get the numbers for anything.
And then they listen to each other. That's the worst part.
Well, yeah. So
it's fucking nuts.
And now you see Forza Horizon 3 selling 2.5 million just retail, if you know, like you said, if you read that right. Yeah. And just, you know, pretty much not including any of Europe. I know Europe's down from last gen, but they're pretty big into racers, so I'm sure it shifted probably a minimum 500,000 there. So you're probably looking at 3 million plus whatever they did digitally. I'm hearing Xbox Play Anywhere titles are, let's see, the industry average is around 30%. I'm hearing like the average for an Xbox Play Anywhere title is around 40 to 45% digital rate. So that game did extremely well for them. And it's the reason why Playground was able to open a new studio and is making a new game, which I don't know if you listen to TXR, but I spilled the beans on what it was.
What was it? Just in case anybody wasn't there.
They're making a open world RPG as their take on Witcher 3.
Okay. Do you know? Have you heard if it's like exclusive or multi-plat?
I heard it is multi-platform.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. But if you think about it, they owe a lot of the success. The bread and butter has been the Horizon.
Well, yeah.
series.
So they are still going to continue on with the Forza Horizon series. I mean, it is Forza Horizon 3 is. I don't know. It may not be the best Forza because I think Forza Horizon 3 might be your 4. But it's definitely better than any of the current gen Forzas like Forza Motorsport 5, Forza Motorsport 6, and Forza Horizon 2. So the offshoot is doing better than the main line, So obviously they're going to keep on doing it.
It's just more appealing, you know. It's less hardcore, and like I said, it just appeals to more people with what you can do. A little easier to play, you know, a little more friendly. The online's co-op, you know. It's a different type.
Yeah,
of game.
they've given you a lot more things to do on it as well. I mean,
Hey, we have XBot 44739X.
Xbot who?
4398.
Xbot social security number.
Xbot Pi from now
Yeah.
on.
Xbot Pi. Hey, Xbot, man, welcome to the show, bro. Thanks for stopping by.
No doubt, man. You know, thanks for the invite. I was going to talk sooner, but Rand, man, I don't know if he breathes when he talks. Like,
Dude, I can go, man. This is what I do, man. I talk about video games. You guys know this.
yo,
He
Rand,
does.
when you were talking about Horizon, it was funny because I made a video talking about like if Forza Horizon is now that like flagship racer for Xbox compared to like Motorsport.
I think it
Because-
is, man.
Yeah, I gotta say, man, it's definitely taken over. Not to say that there isn't a spot for motorsport for those like simulation enthusiasts and stuff like that, but that Horizon, it just has more appeal to a lot more people. You can just pick up the controller and play.
well,
And
it reaches a broader audience as well
Yeah.
because of that. I mean,
We-
it's
and you
not just racing. You
I
got,
don't think
like,
it's indicative of quality. I just think there are more people more interested in the open world co-op. Forza,
Mhm.
you know.
Well,
Yeah.
and you can tell Microsoft was surprised by this game because about a month ago or 2 weeks ago, they put out a bundle with Forza Horizon 3. I think the success of that game took them by surprise,
Hmm.
and because you would think that would have had a bundle when the game came out.
I wouldn't have
Yeah.
bundled it because I would want to because when you bundle a game, you don't make much money, if any. On
Yeah,
it.
but I mean it's their own game, so
Yeah, they still want to make money.
I mean,
Well,
they bundle the game and you can there's microtransactions and
But we're
Yeah.
talking about how well Horizon did. I mean, Forza Motorsport 6, they confirmed it like a month and a half after it hit that it did over 1 million as well. So these games do well every single year. It's just like people don't. I guess they don't read the news that particular month. I'm not really sure. But yeah, they all generally do pretty well. You know, they're all damn good games.
You don't become a $1 billion franchise without selling copies of your game.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Thank you. Hey, over 430 watching, man. Hit that like button. I appreciate it, man. You guys come out and rock with us once again. Also, special shout out to all the new Brazilian listeners. Like, I have some Brazilian friends, and they have a YouTube channel, and they gave me a shout out, and then I picked up like a couple hundred subscribers. Like, and I'm like, these are. I was like, that's really cool. Like this guy Henrique, who I game with, I played with him on Gears and stuff like that. Really cool dude. Was like, yeah, man, we in Brazil, we love you. He's the guy that was he bought a shirt of me pissing on a PS4 and wore it to an Xbox event in Brazil. So shout out to you guys, man. I appreciate it, man, and all the love and support and all that stuff, man. We got over 400 watching. We should have a shit ton of likes, man. Let's get that up to over 200 quick. And yeah, exactly. And Xbot, just real quick, what are your thoughts? Because I know you're a big Forza fan as well. Another $1 billion franchise. When people say, hey, Microsoft should make more than Gears, Forza, and Halo, and then you look and go, these are $3 billion plus franchises. Are you smoking crack? You know what I mean?
yeah,
I
And
mean,
they've got $4 billion franchises now, including Minecraft. That's
yes,
pretty cool.
Minecraft. Yes. Minecraft is like a huge. Apparently, they're making they're making money off that already, even though they paid $2.5 billion for it. So I mean that's
yeah,
huge
well, I mean,
too.
That's because that game just basically sells like all day long, and then all
Like
the
50K,
merchandise and
yeah.
everything. I mean,
Yeah, it's going to
just
have its own. It's going to have its own movie that's directed by Ronald McDonald from
that's going to be
Always
interesting.
Sunny in Philadelphia.
Minecraft movie.
Yeah.
But for the people that say like all Xbox does is recycle the Halo, Gears, Forza. First of all, there's an audience for each one of these, and you could tell in copies sold and just the popularity of these games. I do believe that Xbox and Microsoft, they do need a couple more first party development teams. I feel like they established these three. But if I could see like two more, that would be awesome, and maybe a Return of Fable and then one more or something like that. I feel like they have to increase their stable of first party, but the ones that they have and the ones that people talk about and they're like, oh, they're just rehashing and rehashing. These games are quality games. They're games that sell. They're games that have an audience. I mean, like, why would you stop making a game that is popular like that? I don't understand.
That's the thing too that I've always said as well, right? Like especially if you're a Sony fan, I mean, that'd be like saying, hey, Sony's like, I'm not going to make any more God of War games, or I'm not going to make another Uncharted game. Because that's just ridiculous.
We don't even need to give them that, because if they could have Gran Turismo every 2 years, they would take it. If they could have a new Uncharted every few years, they would take it. You know, it's the fact that they don't get these things on like clockwork, like these Western studios are pumping out for the most part. You know, it's one of those things where you got a lot of it and it's quality pretty much every time, but since you got a lot, we're gonna act like that's all you got, and that's
dealer,
stupid.
It's funny what it's very popular to attack Xbox and to attack Microsoft, but I don't see anybody saying stuff like this when it comes to the Marios, the Zeldas, and stuff like that from Nintendo. I mean, they've pumped out how many of those, and people get excited every time a new one comes out.
There's a double standard. That's why, dude. Look, here's the thing, right? There's been 4 mainline Gears games, right? And then they had the offshoot with the Judgment, which we don't even really talk about that. But even if you want to talk about that, look at Uncharted. There's been 4 mainline. There was a Vita game, and now there's a standalone game. So how is that not milking? You know what I mean? How is Gears of War milked? And it's just the same Gears.
And there are like 7 or 8 Gran Turismos.
Yes, there's like there, and that's not even counting.
How many God of Wars are there? There's like 5 or 6.
There's 3. Hold on, there's 3 on 2 on PlayStation 4, and this will be the 5th console one. But they also ported the PlayStation Portable, the PSP ones there.
Then there was also they also ported those to Vita as well, or they were playable.
So like, there's literally 4, 5, 6 of those fucking things.
Yeah. So, but and there's 12 Ratchet and Clank games. But hey, let's not talk about that, right? Because Halo's milk when there's 5 mainline franchises.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Even 6 if you count, Reach, which was amazing. So
I'm just saying a lot of people, the people that talk about like them rehashing those 3 titles and stuff like that. Let's just be honest. They, for some reason or another, they just hate Xbox. All right, because you've just proven it with all the titles that you were talking about, across Nintendo, across PlayStation, multiple titles within franchises, and that's all fine. All right. But it's always just like fashionable to hate on Xbox and like the most popular games, the ones that are selling and stuff like that. Well, why are they making another one? Like, because people want to play another one.
Yeah. Well, to Rand's point, he was right. If they could get, or it might have been Dealer, if PlayStation fans could get a Gran Turismo every couple years or an Uncharted every couple years, well, they were. I mean, look at Uncharted. Uncharted came out in 2007, then 2009. And then I believe 2011 might have been, or it might have been 2012, but every couple years, you know what I mean? So that goes to show you. And there was also like the Ratchet and Clanks. They did a bunch of those on PlayStation 3, and they came out quite often. And it really kind of confused the series for a lot of people. That's why they had to go back and reboot it. Yep. I'm not opposed to any of it. Like, look, I buy an Xbox for Forza, Gears, Halo, and it used to be Fable. I buy Nintendo platforms for like Zelda, Mario, Smash Brothers, that kind of stuff, right? And then I buy a PlayStation for God of War, like the Uncharted, the stuff like that. Well, they don't do SOCOMs or any stuff, but I used to really like that stuff. But you know what I mean?
I hope this shuts people up about how well games do on Xbox, because I mean, yeah, Microsoft put this on themselves by not announcing sales figures. Because I always hear people like, Forza doesn't sell, Gears doesn't sell, yada, yada, yada. You basically have a racing game. And racing games, they don't come out that much anymore because they're expensive to make and they don't sell particularly well. Here is an exclusive racing game that is probably approaching, I would say, 4 million copies sold if you combine everything, right? That's pretty goddamn good. Forza's $1 billion franchise. And if you think for a minute that Halo is not, like Halo 5 is not approaching probably what, 8 million
apparently
by
they
now?
They made like 4 billion last year or something like that.
Well, I'm just saying you see this all the time across everywhere. Like, Gears of War 4 sold 200,000 copies. It's like, are you serious? Come on now. Like, look, I understand the Xbox isn't selling as well as the PlayStation, and but it's still doing well in its own right, and the games sell well on the system. I don't know why. Like, a lot of PlayStation fans, like they annoy me with that shit. I see it on Twitter all the time, and it like, the games do extremely well. Gears did probably less than they thought, but I think Forza made it up. Up for it.
It was confirmed at 1.3, I think, after a month and a half, I think it was, and that was just physical. I mean, that was before Black Friday, because it came out right around the same time as Forza. So, and everyone I know bought that physically as well. So I think it's well over easy.
Yeah, and mostly a lot of people have been switching over to digital. So a lot of these sales that are just physical only is really miscount. Really, I mean, I don't own a physical copy of Forza or Gears 4.
Yep, and that's backed up by EA and Ubisoft, saying 50% up year over year. I
saw a video not that long ago. It was like, why don't Xbox people buy their exclusives? Dead Rising 4 did whatever it did, right? And it's like, are you now going to make the opposite video and be like, Xbox fans buy their exclusives? Forza Horizon sold 5 million copies. Like, Nio, Keanu Reeves didn't sell very well. I mean, I don't know anything about that. I haven't played. I hear it's a good game. I have buddies who are playing it, but I don't know.
I heard 9K in the States or some shit, like, for the first. I don't know what it was. Niche Japanese game, but hey, Forza Horizon 3, fantastic game. Well, with 50 million something consoles, that's unacceptable for the amount of people.
but sales don't scale linearly with console sales, though. You should know that.
Well, at the amount of comments we get, we would imagine that all these motherfuckers at least bought 6 copies.
Yeah, everything that I see, at least on a daily basis, people are like, "I'm gonna go buy this Neo game."
Okay. You know, that is a good transition. You're good at that, dealer. I'll give you that, man, because I did have this as a topic. This Neo game, which the media ran, even though you're kind of like level-headed, you have to admit the media pushed this fucking game unbelievably.
I see it all the time. IGN, all those places, they push this game quite a bit as like the next coming of Dark Souls / Ninja Gaiden, right?
Yeah, like they're streaming it. And actually, the media is pushing Horizon Zero Dawn, Nioh. They pushed that Yakuza game. They pushed Gravity Rush 2. I saw more streams for all that shit. I haven't seen anybody doing anything for Halo Wars 2, and I know that they're allowed to. I know they're allowed to stream certain stuff on Halo Wars 2. It's just like the smaller YouTubers and stuff that I've seen doing that, and I know that IGN and these places have this game, but they're not playing it. But they were playing all these other games, and Nioh was getting the push. Like if the media was the WWE, then fucking Nioh was John Cena, and they were pushing that motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, hey, he's the champ. You know, you gotta like him. You like him. You know, and that's basically what was going on. And then when you see, hey, it came up to number 2, and people were like, yay, congrats. But it lost to GTA 5, which people were like throwing that up on my face. But it's GTA. It's like, but I'm like, it's 4 years old. It's not, it didn't get a bump in sales. It's still selling about as much as it was, which isn't a shit ton right now. And Nioh didn't beat it. And
if anything, GTA sales went down since then. Fuck.
Yeah, and Forza Horizon 3 is still number 12 on these charts, and some of the other things like Lego fucking Marvel's in the top 10. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not impressive to me, considering everybody's like, it's sold out, it's sold out. We can't find it anywhere. I'm like, you can't find it anywhere because they only ship.
Well, yeah, it sounds like they undershipped the game. Maybe they underestimated demand. But I'm pretty sure though, like if you actually sort the charts by revenue, Nioh was number 2 though out of like all those games, all right?
Yeah, because it was the most expensive or whatever. Yeah, and I get that.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, obviously based on revenue, you know.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, but doesn't that seem like damage control to you? Like if we were to say that, right? Let's say Halo came in at number 2, but it was number 1 in revenue, and we said that shit. What would people say about us? They go, that's some damage control shit right
damage
there.
Controlling,
yeah,
and that Xbox is done. Hashtag Xbox done.
Halo is done.
Yeah.
Halo is over.
Halo's done. Yeah, I mean, no, you're right. I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5 probably going to be one of the biggest selling games ever. It is a little.
I can't believe it's still selling like that, guys. I'm sorry.
I mean, number 1, it's still selling like that. But there's new users always picking up this generation, and that's a comfort food, right? That's like a McDonald's hamburger. It's Grand Theft Auto 5.
Whenever you buy an Xbox or a PlayStation, you pick up GTA 5. I get that.
And you know, Nioh being like the new like game, yeah, it is kind of. It's a niche game. That's what people say. It's a Japanese. It's a niche game. Those games don't sell particularly well in the West if it's not Final Fantasy. It's just the truth.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Well,
I mean.
and if you look at it, dude, Gravity Rush 2 didn't even hit the top 20, and Yakuza didn't hit the top 20. You know what I'm saying?
Like, it's like I understand that these are like niche titles or so to speak, but the way that people talk and the way you see even just perusing, basic forums and news sites and whatever else, like everybody and their mother is rushing out to buy these things like it's the next big thing.
Exactly. The way they're being talked up and the way they're being pushed.
That's the problem.
Thrown at you like this is a reason that this is better.
Yeah, like
hold on.
I don't care. I don't care
Shit.
that
500 people watching.
Well.
Jesus Christ. Thank you guys, man.
Hey, man, people tuned in to see Rand's return to Xbox.
They did. It was like Rand versus Dealer.
They had a
Two-man enter, one-man leave. But thank you guys. Hit that like button because shit, over 500 watching, only 200 likes. Something wrong about that? Get on that. All right. Hell yeah.
I mean, I don't care about the sales as much as whatever. It's just it's more just how much people talk it up, right? If we talked up a game and we were like, yeah, this game's gonna be great and blah blah blah, that we're all gonna go out and buy it, and then it came out and just basically sold nothing.
Yeah. Well, look, here's the thing. People were like, you guys are all talking up a RTS game. I'm like, when the hell have I ever talked up an RTS game? I get Halo Wars 2 is coming out, but you know how much I think that thing's gonna sell? Diddly poop.
That is
the
difference right there. You know that it's not for the majority of people, but you personally might enjoy the game.
Yes,
and
I have
never do we say, "Oh my God!" Like, yeah, say, like we know that it's not for everybody, right? It's a thinking man's game. Like, it's not for.
That explains why there's no RTSs on PS4. I get it now, dude. I completely get it. It's a thinking man's game, and
but ultimately,
I
know that you're wanting to go to the next thing, but you could sum all this up by using an example from the past in Halo 5. They were saying that game didn't even crack 1 million in like a month or so, and it comes out. Frank O'Connor comes out 3 months in and confirms 5 million copies sold.
Yeah.
So
I mean that's because just going back to the no news is bad news thing. Like people just assume that Xbox is doing terrible and Xbox One games are doing terrible, and that's just totally not the fucking case at all.
They need to start looking at kind of active users and things because over from last year it's up 21%. Xbox One is, and overall sales in the same month and everything. So it's not going anywhere. It's really not.
Crap. That some of that's on Microsoft for not dealing with sales numbers. Like if people, if they came out and was like, guys, Halo's at 10 million, Halo 5's at 10 million, it would shut everybody up. Or if Gears was at 6 million or whatever it was, or if they shared any of that stuff, it would shut everybody up. Yeah, okay, it's losing 2-1 to PlayStation 4 or 4, but like
4,
if it's selling that amount of hardware, software,
PlayStation 5 doesn't get announced till this E3. Remember,
and as far as Neo goes, I would love to play Neo. I wish it was on the Xbox, as I wish.
I played the demo. It's not good.
But I mean, I don't have a PlayStation right now.
Not good.
I would like to play the game.
It's
maybe
dog
one day.
shit, GKB.
But,
well, let me ask you this, Rand. Do you think this signals maybe a change in that? Maybe because they announced this on the official Xbox Wire. Like, do you think that they might change and start announcing some numbers now?
I think I don't know, because what I mentioned on TXR the other day was, okay, so you have the numbers for Forza Horizon 3, and they're fantastic. They're great. They're bigger than anybody really even thought, right?
Yeah.
Where are the numbers for Gears? Like,
yeah, that's true.
Is Forza did it pull the impossible and sell more than Gears 4? Because to me,
Tim Dog thought that.
I mean, to me, that would be bigger news than even Forza Horizon 3 doing extremely well. Is Forza Horizon 3 a racing game outselling Gears of fucking War? Right?
Yeah.
Highly unlikely.
I mean, unlikely. I think it actually has. But
nah.
I don't know.
It's their second biggest franchise.
I'm just saying, if Microsoft is willing to share Forza sales, why aren't they willing to share Gears sales? Obviously, they do these things, all these press releases, is to make the brand look good to people.
I think
obviously,
if it hadn't hit the $1 billion franchise mark, they would have never announced the sale.
I don't
Yeah,
exactly.
I think it's just because of the milestone being hit.
Maybe.
I mean, look, that could be a thing. Look, most of us can probably agree that Forza Horizon 2 is probably close to 4 million overall, like when you count digital and all that stuff as well, which I think is a phenomenal number. I think that it would be dumb to not think that Gears was around there too, for the simple fact that it's on sale.
I think Gears is probably around it. I still think that Forza Horizon probably has edged it out just a little bit, at least.
Well, I mean, that would be
I don't
kind of
know.
funny, but I mean, look, Gears to me, that's always been my like. I love Gears. I just wish that, you know, it's a hardcore game, and I always said this because I can remember having some arguments with people, thinking that Gears was the new face of Xbox, and I remember saying, you know, it's not going to be the new face of Xbox because Halo is really accessible. It's got a great campaign. People can just jump in. There's tons of stuff for you to do. There's like the forts. There's all kinds of crazy crap. With Gears, you go in there, you get slapped by some bitch named Upgrade all the time. You know what I mean? Like, that's seriously. Like, I was on there playing that yesterday with Hellhammer, and all you kept hearing was Upgrade or Free Fubu Shoes killed me or whatever, you know, because, you know, it's always the ones with the stupid-ass names that kill you. So, like, yeah, it was like, I don't know. Whenever I hear the name Upgrade, I always think of that fucking movie. What the hell is that movie, Hellhammer? Idiocracy.
Idiocracy,
Where
yeah.
there's like a million people named
wow.
Upgrade. Yeah, like I always think that movie is kind of based on PlayStation fanboys. And if you haven't seen Idiocracy, go check it out because it's a really funny ass movie. It's like no matter how well informed you are or how you try to explain something to them, they just don't fucking understand it. It's like, yeah, like you could be really thought out, give your points, give your opinions, and they're still like, nah, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I think that's fucking hilarious. But congratulations to Forza. I think that's yeah, Graphic God.
Oh, yeah,
Hey,
well,
what's
I
up,
mean-
bro? Graphic got in the chat, man. He's like, I'm
Forza-
a pony.
Yeah, I mean,
Hashtag
Forza
graphics
deserves
on.
everything it gets. Honestly, I mean, it's hard to beat that game
Yeah.
as far as any
You know,
racing goes.
speaking of ponies, crap. In one of my videos I did today, someone called me an undercover pony.
Well,
Again.
I mean,
Again.
yeah.
Again, this isn't the first time I've been called that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you sit there and play Xbox. They
I
go
know,
up
I
over
sit
a million
there,
gamer
I play
score.
I play nothing but Xbox. I haven't played
Yeah.
a PlayStation game since PlayStation 2. I have over 1 million gamer score. I play more games than most people who listen to this podcast.
You
But
You went to E3
apparently,
and
I
got in-
secretly love. I secretly love Sony, and I'm trying to. He
you got
accused
with
me
your-
of. What do you accuse? He accused me of subverting the Xbox community and turning them into PlayStation fans.
Oh,
Right.
you're
That was my
Okay.
agenda.
that's
Get
interesting.
it all
I mean,
out there. Get it all out
I
there.
mean, look,
man.
Look, dude, you went to E3, you busted 1 million gamer score, you got within sniffing distance of Jessica Chobot. What more do you want to prove that you're an Xbox
Dude,
fan?
oh, Jessica Chobot though, dude. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, come on, she likes the PSP.
Lord.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she was looking good. I was like, Rand looks starstruck and he's not talking or moving. He's just, like,
Hey,
standing there.
they literally right before we were going live, they're like, okay, here's what you do. Look at the camera. Don't say a goddamn word, and yeah, just smile. That's it. I wasn't allowed to talk.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, look, and they announced that they're doing a fan fest again this year. Are you going to head out there?
I haven't really decided yet. I have to see what my finances are. I mean, I want to go. But you know, let's segue into to this whole thing because it kind of changed a lot of people's plans,
Yeah.
right? Crap. I mean, I've seen some
Yeah.
people.
So
A couple of my friends are pissed because one of their flights gets in at like 10 a.m. on Sunday, and they're like, "What the fuck?" You know?
yeah. Okay. So the big news of the day, guys, if you didn't know, Microsoft announced today that they moved their E3 presser from Monday, June 12th, which it normally would have been, to Sunday, June 11th at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Basically, what this does is gives them a whole day to themselves. Obviously, it's going to be, you know, like the Scorpio stuff and a lot of the games and stuff like that. And instead of having, you know, 6-7 hours later, Sony taking over, now people are going to have like this whole day to kind of soak in what Microsoft does. And I think it was a brilliant strategical move because I never thought that they would have changed it. And for them to do that is absolutely phenomenal move, in my opinion. And the funny thing is Xbox's Twitter tweets out E3 2017 briefing, Sunday, June 11, 2017. Mark your calendars. We've moved to Sunday, and they've got the Scorpio 4K chip in there. So people are like gearing this thing up. I saw after they announced this, my feed was filled with I had a lot of salt on my feed. I was like, damn, there's some salty people out there. Like, you guys knew it was coming. It was, you know what I mean? Like, here's the thing. Like, if I'm talking to a PlayStation fanboy, I'm like, you knew that Scorpio was coming.
Well, some of them have convinced themselves that it's getting delayed until next year. Crap.
Well, yeah, because that would make sense
Like,
in a
"God
world,
damn it,
right?
real.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Like, that was just wishful thinking. This thing has been in the planning for a while.
2 years.
Microsoft is going to have the stage all to themselves. They're probably going to have a lot, from what I understand, quite a few partners on this thing, like EA, Bethesda. You're talking possibly UWP stuff. You know what I mean? So I think this is going to be a huge thing, and it's a phenomenal thing. But again, some people were like, I mean, I think they announced it with plenty of time, but some people, like you said, Rand, were maybe had flights booked already.
They did because the E3 tickets went on sale this week, right, for $150 or $250.
Yeah.
Which it was. I don't know why they promoted the 150 because it was only to the first 1,000 people. It's like, good luck. Like, I was in there right when it opened, and I was like 8,000 in line. So I was like, oh, okay. So I did a video about this today, right? My initial thought when I saw they moved it from Sunday, and it's been on Monday for like as long as I can remember, right?
Yeah.
Was
it's
that
always Monday at like 12:30?
Was that like you mentioned? They want the day to themselves. They want the news coverage. They want the mind share until Sony takes it the next day. They want that news cycle because they're not going to do a pre-reveal of Scorpio event in May. That was my initial thought. Like, that's why.
And also, if there is a lot of third-party support behind Scorpio, that gives the third-party developers time to show off any Scorpio ready games. That gives them an extra data to show those games off after the announcement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
here's the thing. Go ahead, Xbox, because I got plenty to say on this.
If you look at last E3, going in on Sunday, do you remember Bethesda went in on Sunday, and look what it did for them, like, going forward. I think Microsoft took a look at that as well, because there was a couple conferences that Sunday last year, and Bethesda knocked it out the park. And now with this new hardware and everything with Xbox and Microsoft, I think they looked at that Sunday and it's like, well, now we're coming with something like big time here as well, and we'll be able to show the games, and like Crap and everybody else said, it just gives that much more time for all of it to sink in to the people who are watching and stuff, and there's more time to really appreciate what they're going to show. I think it was a great move, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, this basically is a good move as well, because look, it's very hard to show off 4K and that sort of thing, like just over the air, and especially in a short amount of time. So now they can do an announcement at E3 and then use the time after that to basically kind of show this off and show off what it's capable of, and basically kind of get it through that everybody that understands what it is and what it's going to be doing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Dealer, what is your thoughts on this, man? Like, I'm curious.
Well, it is interesting because it's a lot of information, because Scorpio's still VR ready, according to Microsoft. It can still do VR, even though they're not prioritizing it, right?
Yeah.
So they've got to explain that. They've got to cover every aspect, or it kind of doesn't make too much sense. They've got to explain how the games work. They've got to explain what to expect. Yeah. They've got to explain how the backwards and forwards compatibility works. They're already touting they're done with generations. It's all evolutionary from now on. There's a lot to say, not to mention backwards third-party support. So what games are going to be getting patched? We know Gears and Horizon 3, Fallout 4 has been confirmed, Skyrim. There's going to be a lot of support for this thing. We want to know what. So there's just so much to say, and I think it's good for them to move forward. Any kind of change for Microsoft right now is good. That shows thinking. They're shit's moving upstairs, right? So they're definitely thinking differently, and they're trying to be a little different, get out there ahead of everyone, like you've said. And also, they're probably going to be doing a bunch of interviews all Sunday night. After the conference, they want all that to be out there for a good day or so. So yeah, I mean, they're doing what they got to do, but the messaging is most important. As Hellhammer said, you're not going to see that. A lot of people can't see 4K when it's right there native on the screen, right? They're like, oh, it's sharp, but I can't really see it. Like, you're not going to be able to see this over a stream. So they're going to have to mastercrafted just scripts and
it's going to be a lot of. It's going to be a lot of explanations and basically a lot of taking technical aspects and kind of.
We want to know exactly how big of a shit it's going to take on the Pro. Like,
it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of technical aspects.
To have their messaging 100%. The opposite. of
I'm
2013.
hoping that Microsoft, when they do the technical side of it, that they do, they actually focus on what the actual tech side is, and also try to kind of dumb it down per se, so that the average people can understand just what this thing does.
And people say, "Well, it's not going to be much more powerful." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, with half a teraflop, you had up to a 20 FPS boost on PlayStation 4. What do you think Scorpio is going to do with an additional 2 and over 100 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth on top of what the Pro has? What do you think is going to happen? Use your brain."
Well, I also, you know what? I wanted to say this too, because I noticed this. Like, you guys will notice something. The hype train started early this year. Usually Microsoft doesn't start the hype train until around March.
Yeah.
But with this announcement that they're doing it early, that's aggressive. They probably got Sony saying, "What the fuck?" You know what I mean? Like, Sony's got to be a little bit concerned.
Like, Microsoft already peed on Sunday. Sony's got to claim a different day, you know?
Yes, exactly. So Sony's got to wait like that whole day and then into the evening before they get to show off what they have. And they might not have, honestly showing off a lot of stuff they've already talked about, because they announced stuff so far in advance. So that's one thing that they have. A lot of people are hoping for a PlayStation 5 announcement.
We're not going to see anything like that.
Yeah, they were working on the Pro for 2 years almost, people. They're not going to make a 5 within an.
I mean, look, here's the basic fact of the matter is, either way, regardless of what else is shown, basically this is a hardware announcement, so it's going to be big.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, look, and I'm not going to be happy unless I see Mikey Barr out there on stage, Daddy Barr to you, Brand, with the chart and the pointer with the shit on PS4 Pro chart. You know what I mean? Like, this is how many more shits this takes on the Pro, right? That should be something that would explain it very, very easily to the fans, right? Like, don't complicate shit.
I still think that it'd be better served if they had its own event in May.
Yeah, I had heard
all of that. I mean, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe they moved it to Sunday for different reasons. Maybe they still wanted the full cycle, and they still are going to reveal Scorpio before then. I just think for what this is, like, a 20-minute segment in an hour and a half press conference is a short amount of time to tell you everything that Scorpio can do, basically.
Yes.
So I think you're shorting yourself on this one. But I mean, I don't work at Microsoft. I don't get paid millions of dollars.
That wasn't enough time for the
think
Pro.
about.
But they also have the entire day to do additional streams and that sort of thing as well.
But most people are only watching.
I'm assuming it's going to be on television. It's prime time on Sunday. Like, most people who watch these things who will only watch it for that and then never see any other thing again. Like, there are people that still believe Xbox One doesn't play any used games.
I know. I understand that. I see
all
that
that
every
stuff.
day.
So you get one impression. People are going to watch this, right?
But
and they're going to be either like, "Hey, that looks good. I'm going to get this at the end of the year." Or, "Oh no, screw Scorpio. I'm not getting it." Right?
Well, I mean, having 20 minutes basically is difficult to basically kind of explain that thing. But even having a prior launch reveal or something earlier on isn't going to make that much of a difference, because the people who are going to watch that are the same ones that would watch it after the fact, or after the primetime show.
Well, here's the thing: if you're Microsoft and you're Phil, you want to redo that fucking terrible 2013 reveal. I had heard that they would do a May event to show off the Scorpio. That makes the most sense to me. I'm not saying, because look, people complain that they talked about hardware too much last E3, and they just did a little fucking, here's the Slim at the beginning, and then here's the Scorpio 2-minute trailer at the end. Like, that's nothing. Imagine them having to do a 20-minute fucking presentation. And you have to pay attention to what Sony did at the Pro event, because that was dog shit. They did a shit job of explaining anything. Like, they glossed over, we've got some players tech, but yeah, blah, blah, blah.
Well, had they clearly explained what the PS4 Pro was doing, it wouldn't sound very impressive.
Well, no, here's the thing, though. Look,
PS4 Pro will attempt to run things faster.
But these things don't exist in a vacuum, right? So, like, I already can see what's going to happen, right? They're gonna show off the Scorpio in 20 minutes. People are gonna be like, "But where were the games?" Microsoft talk about hardware, and then Sony's gonna counter by just showing nothing but games. And people are like, "Well, Sony's for the gamers because they're showing games. Microsoft's just talking about hardware." I already see the headlines in my head. I can predict the future, and it's going to happen just as well as I do.
Listen, if they do it that way, but here's the thing: like, I'm trying to think positive. Microsoft is being aggressive. Phil, maybe he watches, maybe somebody in that group watches what we do, at least some of us, I don't know. And they realize, look, we can't repeat the same mistakes. Like all that hardware, you maybe can get away with a little bit of hardware, but you're going to have to show off games because a lot of the fans are right. Hold on, Elmer. A lot of the fans are right in the fact that we only know what's coming out basically this year for Xbox. They have to show us some stuff that's coming next year. You know what I mean? Like that's got to happen at some point, right?
Yeah. Well, there is zero with the amount of money Microsoft pumps out. There is zero excuse for not to have your own show about the console. Xbox One had it, Pro had it, PS4 had it, everyone's had it, and they always have had it. There is no excuse not to do it again with the most powerful console of all time.
Oh yeah, I agree. They should have their own show, whether it be prior or after the E3 event. But they gotta put some time into it on the E3 stage too, because look, not everybody's sitting here.
Of course, yeah, they'll gloss
reading about this stuff. Not everybody's sitting here watching the podcast, or not everybody is that big into it where they're just sitting there and they're looking for it. They hear it in the passing, Scorpio, this or that or whatever. But you got to show it to the general public too to try to sell this thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, and you have
to just like last time, they'll gloss over it, but they needed a separate event as well, just for the technical aspect by itself. I mean, it demands one.
And Microsoft, stay away from showing the prices right. Okay, like none of that shit. I'm just saying.
I wanted a separate event for them to show off the hardware and everything. But one thing I was thinking about with the E3 conference and Microsoft going Sunday. Basically a day earlier. If you remember last year's E3, once it was over, there was a lot of people that were talking like, is E3 dead? Is it dead in the water? And stuff like that. And I think what Microsoft did with changing it to Sunday and basically being like that first big hitter out, I think they went ahead, and if they like really have a great show, they owned E3 all the way through. Because I'm not sure if E3 is keeping the interest of I don't know, the majority of people anymore, because like I said, like last year, people were starting to talk, well, is E3 going away and stuff like that. And I think that Microsoft is kind of like they put themselves in the position to own E3 this year, to be the first one out, have the games, they're out on the floor and everything, and just kind of like dominate the mindset of E3 all the way through.
Kick it off with a bang. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome idea. And have that bang remembered all the way through. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they don't go ahead, Elmer.
I mean, that was the other thing I was getting at too, right? Like they get that, basically get the coverage throughout the day. We already know that places like IGN, GameSpot, and all these places are going to be covering the same thing basically all day long, basically for all Sunday, all throughout E3. I mean, it's basically a 24/7, right? Like, so basically they could easily show off, do a 20-minute presentation on the hardware, kind of give people a brief gloss of what to expect, and then do something after the show to show off the rest of the technical specs and everything, and that sort of thing, to the people who are looking for the tech specs like me or Dealer or whoever, the people in here in the podcast, and the people who actually, understand a good majority of that.
Well, also,
maybe they just... Oh, go ahead, Rand.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say maybe they just want to go on Sunday to give Sony a little bit more time to adjust their conference, because they know they're gonna crap all over what they're offering.
Well, that was what I was gonna say. So Sony now that they know Microsoft's plans, do you think they stay put with their nighttime showing on Monday? Do they move to an earlier time on Monday to maybe get prime time on television, which they normally don't do? Do they possibly say, fuck it, we'll go right after Microsoft on Sunday night and try to steal some of their thunder? I mean, it's interesting to see what Sony's response is to this, and maybe they don't need to respond. But
as I say, I don't think they're going to move at all. I think they're comfortable in the position they're in, and
yeah. If you look at Sony's thing, their show is always that time, because that's I think an early time in Japan, or a prime time in Japan.
They're trying to go more for an international viewership.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I mean, look at some of the stuff that they do. Like the Horizon Zero Dawn embargo is up the day before Halo Wars comes out. Halo Wars 2 comes out, right? Now, I've had discussions with people about this, and people are like, well, that's just normal. I'm like, okay, and I know Sony has faith in that game, but They could pick any day before that. They could pick the day of, like Halo Wars the day after, but they're specifically targeted the day before Halo Wars 2. And why do you think that is?
Probably
because they want to take some momentum out of Halo Wars 2. They're still rivals, even though Microsoft doesn't view Sony as a competitor like they do Google and Apple. They still those kind of chess masters. That's why Microsoft unveiled the Scorpio last year at E3 to basically force Sony into not announcing the Pro and all that stuff because Microsoft had them beat. So I'm just saying. I kind of agree with you guys. I think they'll stay, but there's always the option they might go and now strategize and be like, what can we do to better Sony and try to take some of the wind out of Microsoft's sails. Maybe they'll go right after. Maybe Microsoft is a great showing with Scorpio, and then Sony's like, well, fuck it, we'll just do it on Sunday night and then show nothing but games. And now there's Microsoft, whole day of media share gone out the window.
Yeah, sure.
Well, listen, Sony though they're gonna have to. They're cocky now. You know what I mean? And they I guess have the right to be cocky. They've really done a good job of pushing their console and the narratives and things like that. And Scorpio was a brilliant announcement last year for a couple of reasons. The big reason I think was the end of the resolution stuff. We don't see that anymore. And the other thing is,
wonder why.
Yes, be wary.
You called that.
Yes, I did. And be wary. You're going to see people who liked Xbox for a while and then jump ship, and they're going to try to sneak back in, and you're going to see that with some media too. I hate to call this guy out, but Destin Legary, right? This guy,
he's already started to transition.
Yeah. Like I was talking about it earlier today, right? This guy was shitting on Xbox. He's a part of the Xbox podcast Unlocked, and yet he was playing Destiny on PS4 and talking about PS4 all the time. I got in an argument with him because he was doing like resolution things on IGN, and he told me he doesn't get in console wars on Twitter. And then I tweeted him back that picture where he's holding a 1080p PlayStation 4 game and the 900p Xbox One, and I'm like, sure you don't, guy. Now he's all like, this is brilliant move by Microsoft.
It's good to see somebody on that damn podcast, like at least keeping shit high though, right? Like,
yeah,
at least a flip-flopper here is coming in handy,
It is. Like, he's like, this is what he says. He says, Xbox fans, Microsoft is going to control the message for more than 24 hours now. This is amazing news, right? Like, I mean, this guy doesn't give a shit about Xbox at all. And then you guys, you know who you are. If you're watching this podcast.
He did. He just blows at the wind, man. He fucking migrated, and now he knows the advantage is going to be with Xbox. He's going to come right back.
That tweet to me read like sarcasm.
No, that's not.
How could it be? There is no negative.
The way that was worded, like Microsoft, the way he basically said for only 24 hours, I read it as kind of like sarcasm. But I mean, I guess I read it wrong. I mean, you don't know.
He's like, this is what he says: Xbox fans, Microsoft is going to control the message for more than 24 hours now. This is amazing news.
Yeah, I know text is hard to read sometimes, but when I first saw that tweet, I thought it was like sarcasm and even like a cheap dig at Microsoft.
If you heard him on Unlocked, I mean, he's like basically the cheerleader for Scorpio right now. Like, because McCaffrey and all them, they have no clue about any of this stuff and what all this means with Scorpio in terms of specs. So they're like, well, maybe Digital Foundry hinting at this means that it's going to be a PS2. And Destin's over there. Destin's over there. He's actually cheerleading it. His attitude's actually where it should be, pretty positive. Because this is what people have been complaining about for going on 4 years. They're finally getting it, an answer to their complaints. And most people are saying, well, I'll just go to PC. That's the stupidest shit I ever heard. You're finally getting something that's ridiculously powerful, and you're going to migrate.
Hey, I'm like I said, I'm probably wrong. It's just text is hard to read sometimes. I don't really listen to podcasts Unlocked because why would you when you got TXR podcast and Next podcast and Console Corner and all the great Xbox Nation and
you
need to listen to
like how you
podcasts
listed Xbox Nation last.
There's so many I forget the names
of 10 next gen podcasts.
That's a great point, and I think that's one of the reasons why they're opening up E3 to the public is because I mean, really, where are gamers getting their gaming news from anymore nowadays? And it's social media and YouTubers like us. It's not coming from those main media outlets anymore because I mean, no matter what side of the fence you're on, everybody can see that there's a double standard when it comes to how Microsoft is treated versus other systems out there.
Yeah, well, now they're starting to notice that, Mike, and I think that's something that I've kind of based this channel on a little bit is pointing out the double standard that comes along with everything, right? Like, Microsoft and Sony both were going to announce some sort of DRM with their consoles at the beginning of this generation. Sony saw the backlash that Microsoft got and decided to kind of pull the plug on that, right? So they could be looked at.
They think that we're pulling this out of our asses. They could literally go Google an interview with Yoshida where he says, quote unquote, it is up to the developers to enable DRM. I mean, this came right out of Yoshida's face. We're not just making this
people
up.
are quick to forget.
They are,
yeah,
because it's a Sony product.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then not only that, but also they made a big deal out of being forced to get the Kinect with the Xbox One, which granted probably Microsoft and Donnie Matrick probably shouldn't have done that, but Sony was going to offer the camera in all PS4s as well. If you look at all the early mock-ups, it had the camera.
Crap, the reason why, like, this makes sense to me when this happened. Like, the reason why they were putting cameras in and it was going to be standard is because when the Kinect released for the 360, a lot of the developers, when Microsoft approached them about doing like Kinect games or whatever, they're like, well, it's not with like your entire user base and stuff like that. And at that point in time, the Kinect was popular on the 360. It was the fastest selling peripheral for a console like ever. And so the next step would be to bundle it. I don't think they expected that backlash or whatnot, but they already had promised the developers, you know what I'm saying, that were making Kinect games like, the Kinect is going with every Xbox One. All right. So this way they didn't have the excuse that, not everybody that has the Xbox has Kinect. They were really trying to push forward with that word I call innovation.
That was really stupid because you always give the consumer choice. I mean,
yeah, I see what you're saying, but I also see.
And then the NSA spying, and suddenly it was a spy box. And, they just gave them
I remember that. Hey, but they were only spying on that, and yet people don't realize that everybody's cell phone has.
Yeah, you're carrying around a
GPS.
supercomputer with a camera, a GPS, a microphone, and you're worried about a Kinect.
But they're like, let me see what this guy's doing on this Xbox.
Let me see what Crapgamer doing in his underwear. He's
been his yellow ass cheeks.
Everybody's got a camera on their cell phone that they carry around with them all the time. So
shout out to K Mega.
Yeah, K Mega, dude. What's up? Also, dude, Predator H2O sent this tweet. Somebody had mentioned this to Destin. He goes, Sony is going to have 24 hours to adjust their message if necessary. This is amazing news. And Destin is like, good point. I seriously think this is to avoid them getting dunked on only a few hours later by Sony. Like, I mean, come on.
It doesn't matter if the ball is in Microsoft's court. I mean, if they just right team working on the messaging, they can't.
Let's be honest, though, right? Like, Microsoft could come out there and say the craziest crap that nobody would ever expect. They could be like, this thing's coming out for only $199, and it gets bundled with 3 games, and they'd still find a way to talk shit about it.
Well,
I mean, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and that's actually kind of sad. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, it is. I mean, look, Microsoft could literally do that and be like, and you buy it, you never have to pay for Xbox Live and still get your 4 free games a month and all this other shit. And people would still be like, yeah, but this is the real problem. But
it's got the best online. I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like good online, y'all. Like, you wouldn't believe it. Like, I did a video earlier today about how I didn't really give a shit about the sales of the PS4 because I was happier with Xbox. It has the better online and the controller and the games and the community in general. And again, I pointed out the fact that I've had a PS4 for a long time, and nobody from the PS4 community has ever gone, hey, crap, all jokes aside, why don't we hook up and play some games and, and shoot the shit, right? Nobody's ever said that to me. While there has been plenty of PS4 gamers who bought an Xbox One.
PlayStation Plus, man.
I don't have PlayStation Plus. But it's like, I've done that. I've extended an olive branch to the PS4 owners. You know what I mean? I've said, hey, the ones that have bought an Xbox One, even if it's not their preferred platform, I'm like, hey, let's play. Let's hit up some Halo. Let's hit up some Call of Duty, whatever, Gears. I've done that to people. That's never happened to me as far as PlayStation. If there's a PlayStation fan that's actually decent and nice, hit me up on Twitter, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or or whatever. And on PS4, Crapgamer. That's my PSN.
They can't handle your opinion, bro. They can't handle
exactly.
Your opinion.
It's like shit. You know what I mean? It's like, goddamn. I'm willing to play the game. Show me what's so great about PS4 or whatever, and let me know, because at the end of the day, it's console wars, and that's kind of funny and stuff like that. I have a good time with that. But I'm a gamer, and I have all the stuff, and I always do. And I'm looking forward to Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm looking forward to Halo Wars 2. But as far as your lists go with like the Yakuzas and Gravity Rushes and Nihos, I'm not interested in any of that. Until now, if Sony are able to get, which I heard might happen, God of War out this year, hey, bonus. That's something to look forward to because I like that series. You can ask Hellhammer. I've got the little Kratos statue. I bought the collector's edition. I've got the collection. I like God of War. That's a good franchise. I like Uncharted. So that DLC that comes out, I'm going to get that. But as far as like big games and whatnot, like the Spider-Man game does interest me. But this year on Microsoft side, like Crackdown interests me, Halo Wars, State of Decay,
Sea of Thieves.
all that stuff. Sea of Thieves in particular, which, yeah, I mean, that's, I think
Dude,
that's going
have
to
you
be
seen
huge.
the screenshots coming out lately for Sea of Thieves? Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
Yeah, that game looks
I think
amazing.
outside of saying that I take place in the alpha, I can't say anything else about that game.
Oh shoot.
Yeah,
Well,
like you're allowed to say you're
screenshots,
in the.
they do look gorgeous. I mean, it's a very stylized art style that they got going on, but it looks good.
The water, yeah.
What ticks me off is they keep releasing more and more rounds of that, and I still haven't gotten my invite.
You and me both,
How many
Hellhammer.
fucking blades of grass are on the ground?
Well, I mean, that it could be. Hopefully, it's 1080p, but I got a feeling that's going to be a 4K
Like
game for
I'm
Scorpio.
gonna throw this out here too, right? Like I don't care if they want to send me an invite on the PC version. Just send me it. I want to play it. Come on.
Yeah.
PC version.
Scorpio
Whoa.
version will be the one I'll be on.
Yes,
I'm just
exactly.
saying.
I
I'm saying
mean,
for the invite for the alpha. I mean, like, come on. I just want to try it out, like on any platform at this point.
Yeah.
yeah.
I signed up for both.
Well, listen, like so they did announce the switch to the presser to Sunday, but somebody asked if they would be doing a standalone event for Scorpio, and they said more news coming soon. So they did
Awesome.
leave the door open for that. I think that would be the smartest fucking thing. I think everybody will pretty much agree that not announcing Scorpio or showing it off before E3 leaves you very short-sighted, especially since Phil is notorious for keeping his shows at an hour and a half. I don't know that I would expect a longer conference this year from them. So that means you're going to have to, unless they're planning, like Rand, maybe but I don't know if you'd even say, but are they going to do a Gamescom this year?
Haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah, because I mean, look, this is what I was thinking. If they don't do a standalone Scorpio event and they want to show it off and they're going to show off some games and all that shit at this year's E3, and then they're going to do a Gamescom where they're showing off all new games, maybe some stuff coming next year, then that might work because Gamescom is only like 4 weeks later or 5 weeks later, right? So that could work, but just not doing the Gamescom again, like I feel like one show that they do isn't enough. I feel like they should do 2 shows. Maybe those 2 shows are too close to each other, but I still feel that you need to hype things a little bit better. And I feel like if they're smart, and I think Phil is smart, they need to show Scorpio ahead of time. They need to demonstrate this stuff ahead of time, and they need to show people, these games running on it. And Phil himself said, hey, look, these things, don't pre-order one until you see the games running on it. And so that, to me, exudes confidence. This guy knows that this thing...
A ridiculous amount of confidence. No
Yes,
one's ever
like-
done that before.
Nobody has ever said, don't pre-order our shit until you see something running on it. Because that's like, that would be like insane, that just doesn't happen. So that there's going to be a huge difference. And I think that that's what I'm excited about. And I think there's going to be a big difference, even for 1080p TVs. I think you're still going to see an increased level of details and games
They're
run
going to
better.
give you the option, just like the Pro does. You're going to have the option to either have have the higher texture rates and that sort of thing, regardless of whether or not you're running it at 4K.
Yeah, well, there was that developer who was talking about it, and he said that it's going to be using the 4K assets and stuff like that on the Scorpio versions or whatever. So I think that that's pretty cool. Like, and what to me is weird, like what I'm having trouble understanding is it's just going to be the Xbox One game. Like, there's not separate games. You put it in, and it's going to be like, okay, well, this is Scorpio. So you're probably going to have to download a shit ton of assets and stuff. Or do you think the assets are going to be on there? Like, I'm confused about that stuff as well. I've been kind of asking around.
I think that as far as games that are going to be patched, for instance, like Forza Horizon 3, Gears of War 4, that sort of thing, there's probably going to be a download for it.
Yeah. Well, didn't
I think
Fallout 4 just come out with like a texture pack download for PS4 Pro where if you want to get the
Pro
high
didn't get it
res
because
textures?
it doesn't have enough VRAM to
doesn't have enough
support it.
VRAM for it.
Oh
Yeah.
shit! I thought it did come out for the.
No,
Was that just
Pro-
PC?
It
Pro
was,
got a
just
bump
PC.
to,
It was 58 gigs.
Yeah, Pro got a bump to 1440p with enhanced God rays and a little bit better draw distance. The PC version obviously already had all that and more, and then they got the 4K texture pack. But you will see that 4K texture pack hit the Scorpio, I guarantee it.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
you know what? I had shared like Dealer and Hellheimer, I'd shared that paper with you, the roadmap where they talk about like they want the patches out ahead of time. You know what I mean? If at all possible, because they basically people are going to be downloading these fucking massive patches, and that's going to be something that they want to try to avoid.
Yeah. So what you're going to see the big difference in is one, obviously this thing's going to have the 4K UHD Blu-ray drive. So the games that come out that are going to support it that are coming out after the Scorpio release or during release that are going to have support are most likely going to have the textures and everything already on disc.
Yeah, I've got another theory as well, real quick. You're right with the 4K Blu-ray drives and all that. They are shooting to have that in there, according to Albert Pinello. And also, on any game that gets Scorpio support that has any kind of high bitrate textures or anything like that, they probably will ship that on a 4K Blu-ray, which has substantially more memory, so they can install it right from the disc. And they, install times are going to be just ridiculously fast on the Scorpio. They've already said that's kind of a priority, and even Pro install times are much faster. And that's the Pro, so you can definitely expect that.
Well, yeah, because I mean, even disregarding like the efforts and the tech for the GPU and the CPU and memory and all that. I mean, you're getting drives that are much, much faster. I mean, we're basically got kind of first-gen Blu-ray drives in the Xbox One and the original PlayStation 4.
Speaking of Blu-ray drives, anybody think that Sony's going to come out with a PS4 Pro revision that has a 4K Blu-ray drive in it now that they have their standalone 4K Bluray player out on the market?
No chance, because they've already kind of made their bed basically. So what happens is, like, I can remember, maybe you guys remember, there were always rumors that the Xbox 360 would release a Blu-ray version. And I was like, they're not going to do that because they release games on DVDs, right?
I have that HD DVD player for the 360.
I still do too. Mine's still hooked up, man. I've got tons of HD DVDs, man. It's crazy.
Me too. I bought into that. That was a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, but look, when you think you've been using DVDs for years, then you think the next logical step is HD DVD. You know?
Exactly. That was my thought.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, DVD was the standard, so HD DVD, that's going to be the next standard, obviously, and that didn't pan out for us.
Yeah,
Blu-ray,
it didn't. But I mean, look,
twice the storage of HD DVD. That's why it won out.
Yeah, that's
50
why.
gigs as opposed to 25.
Oh, let's be honest. It was because of the porn industry. They chose Blu-ray.
Well,
that was a big part.
Not just. Yeah, it was, but not just that. But they didn't include a HD DVD drive in the Xbox 360.
Yeah,
like had they done that, maybe it would have been a little bit different because you would have had a damn near install base to 90 million by now. You know what I mean? So they went the kind of cheap route with this ugly add-on that fucking looks awful, and we all know that like the add-ons don't really sell that well to begin with. So that was like definitely. Yeah.
I mean, because if you're gonna have something else sitting next to your console, then you might as well just buy a damn standalone device.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, having an add-on like that is just, at least for how I think of it, being a tech person, I'm like, damn, that means if my Xbox goes out, then I can't even watch movies.
Yeah, we say that, but I have like 3 external hard drives plugged into my Xbox One right now. So
why would you need that? According to Sony fans, you only need one hooked up, right? Anything else is overkill.
No, they all have 10
that's only
terabytes.
this month. Before now, it was you didn't need an external hard drive at all. You know, it was just so easy to swap out the internal.
Yeah.
Like
the
internal hard drive every time I want to play.
Break out my screwdrivers and have my ass crack hanging out like a plumber and stuff. You know what I mean? I don't want to fuck with that. That's why I buy consoles,
reinstall the old operating system and hope reinstall all your games and hope it all
here's
works.
The thing. But you could only, I think, get a 2 terabyte and put it in the PS4 at that time, right? So if you had a 1 terabyte, when you filled it up, you either had to transfer it over, so it left you less than a terabyte left, or you had to swap your fucking hard drives depending on what games you wanted to play. Like, that's stupid to me. Like, that doesn't make any goddamn sense. But go ahead.
What surprised the hell out of me when I got the Xbox One S back in August, I took my external hard drive that I had on my OG Xbox One, and I thought I was going to have to reformat that shit and reinstall everything. I plugged it in, and all my games were right there. That was like marvelous.
That's what I'm doing with Scorpio. I have the externals. There's nothing on the internal hard drive right now. I'm going to just pop the externals off, plug them in the Scorpio, and then I'm going to be fucking good to go. I mean, obviously, there's going to be some patches and stuff that I'll have to download, but at the end of the day, I don't think that's going to be a very big deal.
Well, with our internet, we can't afford to sit there and download all those digital games again. Man, that'd take forever.
Right.
It'd be like we would actually get to the PlayStation 5 announcement.
I have external hard drives now. Like I have nothing on my internal hard drive. Plus, I just had to factory reset my Xbox yesterday, and thank God, because all my games are on my external.
Nah, they updated that to where if you have to factory reset, it doesn't.
You don't have to. Yeah, you can because I factory reset my launch Xbox One like 8 times, and because of that fucking preview program.
Right. It's not the first time I had to factory reset an Xbox where I lost all my games. So.
I was able to keep the games and stuff. It was just like a pain in the ass because it was like, hey, Hellhammer, you got to fucking sign in again because we game share.
Well, it's just like you could buy better. You could buy in that solid state drive if you want, make it load faster. I don't know why anybody would want to just only use the internal hard drive of the Xbox One. External hard drives are cheap as shit.
Well, I use my internal because I have the Elite Xbox One, so it's the hybrid drive.
Well, in your case, that's probably good to use. But you could also just pick up a solid state, and it would even be better.
I got a 2 terabyte.
Send over the money. I'll give you the address. Send over the money, and I'll definitely get a solid state.
I was going to say the same to you, and be like, hook me up with the PlayStation so I can play some of the PlayStation games.
Oh, you got
PlayStation 1? Going retro, man.
You know what you should do is set up a fund, man. See if some of those people will help fund you. They'll be like, hey, we'll get Rand since he's already a pony undercover. Right. We might as well see. We might as well see if he can do some PlayStation reviews for us and stuff like that, because I think that's the next logical step.
Just don't expect much out of trophies. They suck. So.
Yeah, they aren't as good. Whenever I beat a game on Xbox, I'm looking at the achievements. I'm like, okay, well, I got 23 achievements on that, but I got 600 gamer score. I would take the 600 gamer score over 23 trophies.
Unless it's Gears of War 4, you got like 30 plus achievements for the 200 gamer score.
Who ever heard of that?
Guys, speaking of achievements, man, how cool is it with the rare achievement? Like, we've had it for a while now. That whole graphic, and when you see the diamond come up and you hear the different sound, come on, that's freaking
cool.
awesome.
It is cool. Like,
I love that.
It is less than 2% have unlocked it. It's rare and it pops up. It's really cool.
You know, it's funny. I was looking through some of my achievements yesterday, and I came upon Thor from the Xbox 360, and a rare achievement is just beating like one of the levels.
Yeah, like on the 3rd level or something like that.
Xbox 360 games have
rare. Yeah, if you look on your Xbox One at your achievements, even your 360 ones, they have the rare things on there.
That's cool.
Yeah, they only show when you look at it on the Xbox One though.
Yeah,
on the 360 and look. But no, it's a great feature. I like the I like knowing how many people got an achievement. Like that's what I've always wanted.
Isn't it frustrating though, Ram, when you look at something like The Witcher and you're like, level 2, only 30% of people beat level 2. Like what the fuck?
I'll even see some weird shit like Batman Arkham Knight, right? Like the very first achievement in the game that like you pretty much like if you're playing Batman Arkham Knight, you can't miss this achievement, and it's like 85%. It's like, are you telling me that 15% of the people who put Batman into their system didn't even get to that first point where you get this achievement, which is 5 minutes into the game? I'm like, oh, that's
where you get the Batmobile. Like they didn't even get 5 minutes into the game. That's fucking horrible.
I really like seeing because Cliffy B talked about this back in the day about how nobody beats campaigns, and now you can literally see how many people actually do. Like I think Titanfall normal was like 30%. I think Gears of War 4 is like 35%. Beating the campaign on like normal difficulty. So it's interesting to see I mean, he kind of is right that only a third of the people who play the game actually end up beating the campaign and things like that.
I love
the first Titanfall was horrible without a campaign, right?
He's talking about Titanfall 2, I think.
I know, but the first one got shit on for not having a campaign.
Yeah,
but
you know
what? I think it more goes to people don't finish their games. Like
Well, Cliffy's solution is, let's just not do it anymore instead of like.
Well,
trying
yeah,
to
his
find ways
solution
to
is just make
people do it.
multiplayer only. But I try to finish all the games I play. So it's interesting to see. Okay, Dishonored 2. How many people beat the game? 10%. Ooh, okay. Like, that
Well, you
it
do
is
beat
kind
these
of.
when they come out, though. You do crank through these pretty quick, though.
Yeah, I mean, but I could look right now, and they do fluctuate. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but also you also got to take into account too. A lot of people who just go and red box these things and pop them in for like a minute, and they're like, eh.
Hey, I mean,
mean-
that's a possibility. I mean,
I mean, look. I have a lot of games on mine right now that I haven't even played at all, but I've actually launched either because my Connect heard me say something wrong, or I actually clicked something, or
my fucking
whatever the
Connect
case
always
may
sends
be.
me to. I was like, go to Call of Duty 4 Remastered, and it tried to send me to Black Ops. And I was like, no, no, not Black Ops, no. Like,
I don't even have my Connect hooked up anymore.
Oh, you asshole, man! I love my Connect, man.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
Connect works. My Connect works great, man.
Oh, man,
I tell
I
Cortana to turn on my Xbox. Like,
I mean, I think it works really well. It just for me, it gave me some issues. Like I don't know, like how I have my gaming set up is like kind of weird. So if I moved the wrong way or something, it would pick up like the arm movements before they got rid of the
oh,
turn
you didn't
gestures and
calibrate.
that sort
That's
of
what
thing.
happened, man. Hammer, you didn't calibrate.
Although my stuff was calibrated all the time.
He
It's
calibrated
just
the
always
fuck
kind of
out
weird.
this.
I'm not a big fan of the whole Connect thing, anyways. I mean, it's cool, but
Yeah, well, whatever. Okay, so anyway, Phil Spencer confirmed that Xbox is in transition into a PC service. There's more consoles planned after Scorpio. I kind of did a video on this, but I was kind of curious about what you guys thought about this, because a lot of people are like, yeah, putting all their games on PC, clearly they're getting away from the console, and they're not going to do any more consoles. And if you look at this thread of like questions, like you could just tell that Phil Spencer, when he replied to this guy who asked that he probably gave him a bit of an eye roll. You know what I mean? He's like, is it true you're getting out of the console market and only going to do like PC gaming and stuff like that? And he's like, no. You know what I mean? Like he gave him a Yoshida no. And then you see later on down in this thread, it's like you see Mike Ibarra go, there's plenty of innovation left for consoles. So that was really cool, man. And and I, congrats to
It's
Mike.
sad that they even have to fucking do this.
Yeah, isn't it? Because you don't see this shit happen with PlayStation. Nobody ever says PlayStation is about to get out,
Their
even
shit's
though
been on PC forever. It's been on TV,
Yeah.
all kinds of shit. Like,
yeah, exactly. So I mean, I was just curious about your guys' thoughts on this.
Well, not for anything with Microsoft and what they're doing with Windows 10 is they increase the consumer base or between PC and console. I feel there's always going to be a space for console for the ease of use and stuff like that. Because when you look at gaming on a PC, like talk to K Mega. K Mega had like a bitch of a time with I don't know how many games he had on his PC trying to get the drivers straight. It's more or less you're on your own in the PC space, where the console is just you pop the game in or you download the game and you play. I feel like there's always going to be a spot for console, moving into the future, and it's good to see Phil actually kind of stating that, man.
I kind of think that it's always a spot for console, just because people like to go and buy their set box. They know that they have it. It's good for They know it's good for at least 4 to 5 years at the minimum, but that sort of thing. I think the ease of use thing has kind of gotten over a little bit out of hand nowadays, because nowadays, basically PCs kind of run themselves. I mean, I basically install a game and I can run it right off the bat. Like, I mean, again, it might also be because my system, I click on ultra settings, and then I'm playing my game. But that's also, again, I'm on a fairly high-end system. So,
well, yeah, I mean, interesting point, I guess. I don't know. I just
not everybody wants to deal with drivers and things like that. Like what was it? Both NVIDIA and AMD just came out with new drivers for what was it? For Honor. There were new drivers that came out to support that, to give it better performance.
Yeah,
and
it's better frame boost and that sort of thing. But those kind of things, basically, I mean, that's literally 5 minutes. I clicked yes earlier, and I actually did it 15 minutes before the podcast. I didn't have to restart my computer.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, but
it's easy for people that are used to that and acclimated to it, but for people that are jumping from console to PC, like that may not
That's what
be
I'm saying.
intuitive to them.
That's why there's always going to be a market for consoles, because there's
Mhm.
people out there who just like to buy their box. They know it's good for a set amount of years. They know how everything basically works. So it kind of just walks you through everything. You know, your updates are kind of automatic. You know, much like it is on the PC side as well. It's just that a lot of it is just that it's more of the familiarity is what's going to keep the consoles around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
well,
it's been a
you know,
long time since I've had a gaming PC, but like I just remember every time a new game came out, I'd have to search for drivers to make sure I was getting the best that I could out of my GPU.
Yeah, if it's been more than like, because I remember that too. Like I didn't really get back into playing PC gaming or anything. Like even the occasional bit that I do now. You know, the last system I built that was like high end was in like 2008 or something like that.
yeah.
But there's been a big change nowadays with the way the stuff works. Like Windows 10 and everything like that just kind of works seamlessly.
You know, devices like Apple TV and Fire Stick, like these things sell millions of units like every year. You know, and these are just basically consolidated ways to get access to apps easily and reliably.
Yeah.
You know, you you could have access to pretty much all of those apps, every single one of them on a PC or a lot of other devices, right?
Yeah.
But
Well,
these people spend $100 for a little box just to have all your apps right there.
And the last
know?
thing that Microsoft wants to do is get out of the living room space. I mean, that was the whole
Yeah.
reason that they started the Xbox in the first place.
Look, yeah, the
Yep.
Xbox is basically an extent. I see the Xbox as an extension of my Microsoft products, basically, right? Like I go to that, I pop in my game, I play it, or I click start on it, I can play my game, I can stream stuff from my PC to my Xbox.
Now all your saves are cross-compatible.
Yeah, all my saves are cross. So if I'm playing on my laptop or something, you know, one of the UWP games, and you know, I go and play on my Xbox, boom, I'm right back where I was at. Pretty simple.
Well, you know, real quick though, Rand, what are your thoughts on that? Like Phil coming out and just kind of kind of stating matter of factly that no, they still got plans beyond Scorpio even.
Well, I mean, what do people expect him to say? No, guys, it's over. We're packing up shop. You know, like, of course he's gonna say they have plans for doing that, which they do. I don't know, man. People like the Phil Spencer articles are every day. You know, he puts out a tweet, and GameSpot and IGN run articles about it. It's like you go to the article, and it's literally just a redirect to the Twitter page.
Yeah,
it's kind of
He
funny
said
and
no,
sad at the same time. But I mean,
yeah, well,
he is okay. So he answers tweet like there's a madness to the way he answers the stuff. Obviously, he doesn't have to answer the tweets at all. So obviously, he picked that tweet to answer for a reason. Of course, Scorpio, they're thinking of beyond Scorpio. Any company's thinking about future products. You know, they're thinking about what they're going to do next year. They're thinking about 5 years down the line. They're thinking about 10 years down the line. They're thinking about 20 years down the line. This isn't just a fly-by-night operation Microsoft is fucking running here, unlike some people that think they are. But I mean, at the end of the day, let's just even hypothetically, let's say Scorpio was the last one. He wouldn't fucking come out on Twitter and say it was, because everybody would fucking lose their minds and fucking leave Xbox. Come on now.
I mean, it's not. Forza Horizon 3 alone is a great example of how much money they're making. They're in this to make money after all, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a console for the hardcore, the guys that have been waiting a few years, taking the dog shit from all these idiots who, for some reason, I guess they forget that, you know, they were on the bottom when it came to performance all last generation. Overall, in general, you know, their games and frame rates were substantially less consistent when it came to 360 and PS3. And for 3 years, I guess they just forgot about that last decade. And like that chick said,
what happened?
We heard you, console, right?
What happened last decade is anytime somebody would say something about the PS3 or whatever, and I would mention Grand Theft Auto.
We got Blu-ray though,
or whatever. They'd be like, "Yeah, we got Blu-ray. We only need one disc." I'm like, "Yeah, but you consistently run like 15 frames."
And that's when you
lower.
said, "Well, don't worry about that because in 6 years."
And they're like, "Yeah," they're like,
"What?"
And no, and this is the answer I would get. There at the PS3 and the 360 era. People would scratch their head and be like, "Frame rate."
The fuck's a rate?
Nowadays, people act like they're fucking experts on this shit.
Well, yeah, nobody talked about any of this shit back in the past. You know what I mean? And kind of speaking of that. Maybe you guys heard about this THQ developer who said the PS4. Yeah, basically, I'm happy that this guy said that because you usually don't get developers that say this kind of stuff said the PS4's Pro's biggest bottleneck was the weak CPU and the GPU that's not able to do native 4K games. And then what was really interesting about this interview was he said developers want a console that can do native 4K gaming. And if you go back to Phil Spencer interviews from last year, he goes, developers came to us and asked us for a console capable of doing native 4K gaming. Developers want this. They want to make the best possible games, the games that look the best, that run the best, and Xbox Scorpio is going to be able to do that. People got all hung up on that white paper document, right? Because it gave options to people. It gave options to developers. But I still think developers, just like they do with the Pro, like they're even going back and patching stuff like Rocket League with 4K patch. You know, people want their games to shine. And so anybody that thinks that the Xbox Scorpio isn't going to get really good versions of games, native 4K games. Now, I grant it, they need native 4K games from outside of first party. I think if third parties come out and really support this, and you know that they are, especially devs like EA, you know, I can imagine, you know, like Madden's going to be 4K.
Well, look,
60.
we've already got confirmation that Fallout and Skyrim are going to have patches for Bethesda too. I mean, that's pretty
this
big.
thing's powerful enough to run, you know, like with a less powerful PC. I'm running, you know, some really demanding shit like Arkham Knight, which was infamously hard to run at 4K or really anything at stable frame rates. You know, I'm doing 4K 30 ultra settings with 5.2 teraflops right now.
Yeah.
You know, it's nuts because people look at 1800p and yeah, they got to checkerboard it up, but that's 75% of 4K is 1800p. So you're saying that with an extra over 40% boost to performance with Scorpio over the Pro, I can't get another 25% of resolution? Obviously I can, and then I can stack some better quality visuals on top of that with the graphic settings they got going on there. People just don't understand how much power this is. Like, I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's hard to explain to people.
Well, yeah, like because console gamers aren't usually used to being having things explained to them, right? It was like every 5 years we go out, buy a new console, we go from 8 bits to 16 bits, right?
I had a guy tell me yesterday that their exclusives weren't on PlayStation now. I said, well, you're just really dumb, aren't you? You can't be helped. I don't know what to tell you. You know, I mean, that's the problem is people, when information has never been more ubiquitous, people refuse to go seek it. They refuse to learn.
Yeah, I agree. And now, like I said, it used to be super easy where it was like 8 bits, 16 bits. We have a 32-bit system coming out. Now we have a 64-bit. And then I guess the bits kind of died off when they hit everything was like 128-bit. It became like other things. What the hell are they running now? I'm like 64 bits again, technically, or something.
That's operations per
cycle. Unless you got the 8.4 terabyte PS4 Pro that's running 16-bit.
Oh.
Shovel Knight.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you can. Yeah, Shovel Knight. Mantis Burn Racing. That game is running 8 teraflops on that thing. What a beast of a game that is, right? I mean,
even got pre-baked lighting and everything in that game, man.
I can't wait to play some indies at 16 terabytes of power on the Scorpio.
Yeah, I mean, like that's gonna be fucking phenomenal, man. I can't wait to get the 4K update. Hey, shouldn't a game like Rocket League run at higher than 4K on the Scorpio? I don't know. Like if I were them, man, put that shit in 8K because we know that's coming, right? That's the next big thing.
That's not a waste of resources at all.
I know.
Any developer that applies themselves, they have no option but to make a game that looks much better than the Pro version on the Scorpio. Just
I mean, look, exactly. And a lot of people are like, well, why would people buy an Xbox Scorpio when it has no games? And I would say this. The PlayStation 4 really lacked games the first few years of its life cycle, but people still bought it to the tune of supposedly almost 60 million. Now, why did they buy it? Because it ran third-party games better. They looked better, ran better. So using that logic, wouldn't those same people want to buy a Scorpio? And because the games are going to run better, look better, play better, I think that's going to happen. And I know a lot of people are probably going to, they're like the PlayStation hardcore fans that are like, never Xbox, hashtag, and they start their hashtag movements and all that stuff. The people that are like, no, now they want.
Change.org.
Yeah.
Well, you don't
now
get
they
55
want parody.
people saying
now,
that.
Yeah, they want parody now. Remember when that was that big movement, no parody or whatever? Now you don't see that shit, right? Because they want parody as much as possible, which will be like, I can't wait for that shit to happen. Like, can you imagine the first time a third-party game, and it's going to be right off the bat, it's going to release on Xbox Scorpio and be native 4K, and then it's going to be some shit like 1400p on PS4 Pro. That's a huge fucking difference. Like, I don't care who you are. That's going to be great. I'm going to love that video that day that I make that. I don't know what fucking game it'll be, but you know it's going to come, and you know Crap Gamer is going to be like in your face with it, and I'll be like, yo, I'm going to maybe put myself in that destined picture, right?
You
like,
know what? And the best part is, bro, if it doesn't happen day one, we know it's because developers are now doing the parody bullshit. Whereas before, like, kind of like, okay, it's not a ridiculously huge leap, right? Like, I get it because this one's got a faster CPU, so obviously the AI on AC Unity, for instance, is holding back the PS4 version because it's a slower CPU, so maybe that's why. But if it doesn't happen with Scorpio, day one, it's because developers don't want to piss off Sony fanboys.
Well, and what I love is how many articles have we seen in the past month about how you can't tell the difference between native 4K and checkerboard, but the difference between 900p and 1080p was too much to actually want to buy an Xbox
That's what
One.
they're going to say. There's too many pixels to discern the difference.
The difference between 900p and 1080 was like looking at an Atari 2600 game versus an Xbox 360 game. You're like, oh my god, I'm going to gouge my eyes out looking at this thing.
No, it's a blurry mess. It's
but they couldn't tell when they were playing Killzone at 720p. They couldn't tell that.
Well, that's because
Call of Duty Ghost.
You know what? Interesting story about the Killzone Shadowfall thing. Yoshida did an interview where he said 1080p makes you a better gamer, and he used Killzone Shadowfall as an example. He's like, when you play Killzone Shadowfall, you notice that 1080p things are clearer. You can see things much better, and 1080p makes you a better gamer. But it was so full of shit because the multiplayer wasn't 1080p. It was like, what was it? An interpolation, fucking
interpolation.
Yeah, you know, they're like, what we did was basically was a bunch of bullshit, reverse Sabida, Blue Jay, Nut Hut shit, and now it's 1080p. And the Sony fanboys ran with that shit.
Hey,
they're like,
at least they all grouped together, or at least some of them actually grouped together and sued the shit out of Sony for lying.
I remember that. That was funny as hell. You know what I mean? Because Sony wouldn't lie, right? I mean, come on. They wouldn't lie to. I mean, the whole console like resolution gate stuff was based off a lie anyway, because IGN, they're like, we're going to give the edge to the PlayStation 4 version of Call of Duty Ghost because it's 1080p. And they did this because they did a comparison video before the game released and before the patch, because there was a day one patch to up the res to 1080p. So it was a 720p versus 720p, and they gave the victory to the PlayStation 4. That's how you could tell that they were pretty much full of shit. And
they still shouldn't have anyway, because one runs on PSN on the multiplayer and one doesn't.
Wait, PSN runs? That's news.
No, PSN. No, that's a fallacy. PSN doesn't really run. You know, come on.
It falls a lot.
PSN is in a walker trying to get through the day.
Well, you know,
I need my vitamins, bitch.
Speaking of that, right? Like, you know, PSN has been down a lot, like in the past few weeks, I think 4 or 5 times. And again, I checked N4G, and you don't really see anything on it. Xbox Live, I guess, was having some trouble yesterday, and it's one of the hottest stories. Xbox Live is down for many people.
Yeah, even though
higher standard.
Yeah, even though I will say that there was the issues that I experienced, anyways, were a little bit with the party chat system was kind of wonky. But me and Crapgamer played Gears for like 3-4 hours. Like, no problem. Like, no lag, nothing.
And they'll say it's down. You know?
Yeah, I mean, come on. Like, you know, look, the party chat did drop me a little bit. Like, I think I had to reset my Xbox, and then I was able to kind of set it back, get everything going. And we were playing, and I think we were playing Call of Duty and Gears. And I dropped out of the party, and I was like talking shit or something, and then they could actually hear me, and they're like, "Shut up, Crap Gamer!" And I was like, "Oh," I was like, I was just in the room talking to like regular people or whatever, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, hold on, let me die like 6 times while I try to get back into the party chat." So I mean, that kind of sucked, but I was able to reset my Xbox, turn it off, turn it on, and everything. Like, they were having some problems with the chat, but that is such a bullshit thing, in my opinion, that they would do articles about that like it's a big deal. And I guess, you know, Xbox Live is so reliable that when it does go down or when there are slight issues, people make such a big deal out of it. But, you know, and I guess it's just expected with Sony. But I guess I don't get why that is. They're both the same amount each year. Shouldn't they both be on an equal kind of playing terms as far as how good they are and how, you know, how they hold up? You know, like you never see Sony mention anything about improving PSN anymore or anything like that. Last E3, Microsoft said they're adding more servers to Xbox Live.
Same reason that the people were completely anti-Microsoft is because you had to pay to play online. Now they could give a fuck, right? They're biased. Somebody just took a squirt of piss. I just heard that.
No, I was just taking a drink.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the same thing that goes around. It's the same thing. Like literally, the tables got flipped around, and these same people who were like, "Man, I could play for free on PS3, or I only have to install one disc on my PS3." You know,
I remember that, but it fucking took you. It took you 25. I remember Metal Gear Solid 4 on PS3. And you had to fucking wait for it to install each thing, and he's like smoking a cigarette, and it's like telling you how smoking is bad for your health and all that shit.
But at the same time, right? Like I remember it was Grand Theft Auto 4. I've gotten into quite a few discussions with people before on that back in the day, back when that
quote unquote discussions,
yeah. Like man, they were like. I was obvious that the Xbox 360 version had a smoother frame rate and that sort of thing, but everybody just kind of scratched their head when you mentioned that, and they're like, "But I only have to install one disc, or I only have to do this, or whatever." Or for Grand Theft Auto 5 rather when it came out, and the same way with like Final Fantasy 13 and a couple other games, and now all of a sudden, you know, it's all resolution and this and that when. Back in the day, I mean, can you name what the resolution is on half the 360 games or PS3 titles? No.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? This just kind of come out too. Is there Activision teasing some Crash Bandicoot announcement tomorrow? I think that if this game gets announced for Xbox, I think you might see a little bit of meltdown. That nowhere have I seen this thing as being an exclusive.
It's supposed they're not even in the release date tomorrow, right?
Well, it just says they have a big announcement coming. But if you look at, there's nowhere on, like Sony did an exclusive thing for 2017 and the game wasn't in there, right? Where they were doing like a teaser thing. So it wasn't in there. If you look back to their PSX, there's nowhere that it says exclusive or timed exclusive or even debut on there. I know a lot of people would say, well, it was on PlayStation 1 only originally. Well, I mean, what the hell, Hill of Beans, does that mean? I mean,
no, well, the first three were PlayStation exclusives.
Yeah, but then Sony didn't own them. Sony didn't own them.
Sony didn't own the rights. Activision owns the rights to it, and then there was one on the original Xbox, and there was a couple on the 360 as well, but they were like just awful.
There was a Crash Bandicoot that was on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because Naughty Dog did the first few and Crash Team Racing, and then then Naughty Dog got passed around like the town bicycle, and everybody kind of got to ride it. So, yeah, the games got really shitty or whatever. But I just think that Activision's a multi-platform developer. It makes sense for them to put the game out on as many platforms as possible.
And they'll sell you like 10 DLCs over the course of 2 years because it's Activision.
I'm sure they will. I mean, look, they've turned into way worse than EA. Remember when EA was like the most hated company? Like, they were voted worst company, like I think a couple years in a row. To me, Activision way worse.
Way worse.
You know,
worse.
with you know, this is kind of par for the course for Activision though, because if you guys remember when Diablo 3 came out or was coming out to consoles, it was only mentioned for PS4, right? But there was no mention of exclusivity or anything like that, and people were wondering if an Xbox version existed. They had a marketing deal with Sony, and then like a week before the game came out, like, oh, by the way, Diablo 3 is coming out to Xbox.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow if you know they give the release date, still nothing said about Xbox. But like you're right, Sony, these companies love to tout their exclusives, right? It's what they do. Whether it's console exclusive, full exclusive, or whatever, exclusive time DLC, they both do it. They both brag about it, right? And if what you're saying is true, and they haven't said anything about Crash, then it's probably coming to Xbox.
Yeah, they haven't said anything about it. And then even farther, if you go to the Crash Bandicoot website, while it does only have the PlayStation 4 version listed on there, there's nothing else on there that says that it's an exclusive or anything like that, or like only playable on PlayStation.
There's a platforms button actually on there, I think.
Yeah, didn't someone data mined it and found out that you could like pre-order it on multiple platforms or something like that. So I think that Sony, just like, you know, they did get Crash for that Skylanders as a timed exclusive or whatever, but that came to Xbox as well. I don't think that they would. It's not something I'm really interested in anyway. But I just do think that, again, just for the lulz, I think it'd be funny to see like the meltdown that people would have if it came to Xbox, because they'd be like, "How can it come to Xbox? It was never on anything but PlayStation 1." But I mean, look, when they do remasters and shit like that, like Metal Gear Solid 1, that got remade in the Twin Snakes on GameCube, and that was only on PlayStation. So shit happens. You know what I mean? Like that. That's just the only thing I could say is shit happens. Hey, Rand, what did you think about the Destiny 2 announcement stuff? Because I know you kind of like Destiny.
Yeah, well, not really, but I have friends who love Destiny. Yeah. So Activision is they're in a weird situation. Activision, because I was told this about a month ago, and I know Kotaku ran the story, is that if they don't get Destiny 2 out this year, Activision gets like a quarter of their stock.
Yeah, that's a shit ton of stock.
That is a shit ton of stock. So they want the game out. There's close to like 800 people. There's like 3 or 4 studios working on the game to get it out.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, current rumor is, and everything we've seen kind of points to it, is new like your characters and your gear, it not carrying over, nothing. It's basically a fresh start, new story. The Cabal are going to come in and destroy the tower, which is the reason for everything starting over. I'm really interested in seeing how they're going to sell that to the super hardcore of Destiny, and I'll be like, "Hey guys, the 2 years you spent trying to get all that stuff. Good luck. It doesn't matter. Start over again."
Well, they kind of backed themselves into a corner with it, really, because they came out with a game that's kind of persistent online, that kind of thing. And then now all of a sudden they have to come up with a sequel for it. I mean, and that's kind of basically backing themselves into a corner with that, when usually games like that are just expansions.
Well, didn't originally they're like, it's going to be a 10-year game, and then I thought for a while maybe they would just do expansions or whatever, and now they're like, yeah. Do you think they're still going to support the first one?
No, that whole game is surrounded by a bunch of marketing misinformation and bullshit. And the worst thing about all this, less surprising that Activision are trying to steal their stock if they don't rush this out, is the fact that they're trying to get them to rush it out. Like a good product.
I don't think Activision's trying to rush it out, and I don't think there's
like they say, okay, get it out this year. We get
I don't know,
fucking stock. Of course,
Activision's held a gun up to Bungie's head when they initially signed this deal back.
Either
in
way,
2013.
they should know better than to try to force a product out in any given year. They should let them work on it until it's fucking done.
For Activision, it's a win-win. You let Bungie dig their own grave, right? If it comes out this year, it's great. You'll have record profits again. You'll sell a shitload of copies of Destiny. Everything's good. If you let them wait and they miss, that's great too, because now you own a quarter of Bungie. So either way, that's
but
Activision comes out on top.
Here's my question to you, Rand. Do you think that Bungie want to get rid of half of their stock to
Of
Activision?
course, Bungie doesn't. But like I said,
okay, so what do you think Bungie's going to do?
They're going to try to get it out in time.
Close. Yeah, they're going to rush it if they're close. They're not going to.
But I don't have any sympathy for Bungie. They signed the contract. Nobody forced them to sign that contract, and they look. It's
we don't even know if that contract is real.
I mean, the contract that's supposedly leaked, it's been amended, but like I said, I mean,
either way, it's typical Activision.
I don't even think it's typical Activision. I think it's typical Bungie. Bungie is notorious for doing stuff like this. They did it with Halo 2. There was problems with Halo Reach, where with Halo 2, they basically built the campaign and then fucking scrapped it and had to completely restart, which is why the campaign ended the way it did. They're notorious for this stuff, and Big Daddy Microsoft isn't there to basically, wash everything away. Now you actually have Activision, who's like you said before, we talked about this. It's a business for these people. It's a business for Microsoft. They're in it to make money. Activision fucking put up all this money to front to Bungie to build this thing. They want to see fucking results. So to them, it's like, okay, you can have all the time in the world, but remember, there's a stipulation you signed.
They gave them what, 2 years?
No, the game was supposed to be out last year. They already allowed them to delay the game.
When did Destiny 1 come out?
2014.
September of 2014. Destiny 2 was supposed to be out September of last year. They've already let them delay the game.
To get a game out with the scope that they've kind of tried to promise with the first one even requires more than 2 years of development anyway. Like they're both idiots. I mean, there's no getting around it. Bungie and Activision.
That's why they've got so many different. I think they've got fucking Beanox working on it. They've got they do. They've got
Spider-Man games.
Yeah, no more Spider-Man. Well, no, because Sony's got that fucking.
I know.
Yeah, so they got Beanox. They got a shit ton of people working on the game, And yeah, I think that
I
either
just
they're gonna
can't
launch
stand
it and it's
Activision.
shitty.
I'm with you. I can't fucking stand Activision anymore. I can't do
Yep.
it.
You know, like I don't know, they do a really shitty job. Like they kind of egg
Selling
on the
ports,
console war too.
selling
Yeah.
straight ports for $50.
Yeah. And then on
Yeah.
top of that, Destiny was already an overrated game to begin with.
Oh yeah, if not one of the biggest of all time. In
Oh,
terms
yeah.
of its
I remember
bullshit.
playing that, and I'm like, you get into it really exciting. You're like, okay, well, the game plays good. You know, it looks good, but where's the story? You know,
And then you
get
do
into
your
it, they're
first
like,
side
well, it
mission
changes.
where you go kill 10 enemies over and over. Oh,
Yeah, and
this
it's
is a
like,
side
and I
mission.
ask people, I'm like, what do you do in this game? They're like, well, you go do that mission, and then you do it again, and you level up, and you got to keep doing the mission again and again.
Yeah, so
That sucks.
when I got out of that game, it's an MMORPG where you have to grind all the time, but you don't get any of the benefits of the grind, like be able to go do like.
It's not. It's grinding
like
on a very shallow pool. Like it's,
Yeah, you don't get to go and be like, oh well, now I can go do PvP with the leveled up character. Or I can go do this new quest or this or that or whatever. And
It's like with
the new
Destiny,
piece of-
you grind and then I can go buy the new half of the game that came out as DLC.
Yeah, you know, I agree. I think that's what people are going to look into. You know, like for me, I might be interested if it has a better story and it's put together.
It would take
Good.
a lot for them to sell that thing. That's the shit to me again.
Yeah,
I already
I mean,
went to the midnight launch for that game and was super hyped on it, and then played it for like 4 days and then stopped.
we never even played a strike because they weren't in the game. That's how fast we stopped playing.
Strikes were in the game. The raid was not at launch.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we never
Sorry,
played the
Raid.
raid. Yeah,
But it's-
Wait, yeah,
but-
we know.
I have a feeling it's going to come out this year because, you know, I know people are saying in chat that Activision retracted the statement about the contracts. Who to believe, but I think it'll probably come out this year, but I don't think it'll hit the normal, typical Bungie September release date. I think they're going to try to give. I think they're going to try to give that game as much possible time to like make, but so come out in November. Because Destiny's, regardless of what you think about Destiny,
Yeah, it's
Destiny
a
will
huge
be
name.
one of the biggest games that come out this year.
Yeah.
You know, so
Have you heard if Microsoft or Sony has?
I
marketing
heard
on that?
Sony has the marketing rights
Okay.
for it.
Well, I'm hoping that Red Dead. I think Red Dead's going to get pushed into next year. So
Rockstar's saying it's on track for this year, end of this year.
really, because like they give us such a wide fucking berth to that thing. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
seriously.
They're just looking at what everyone else is announcing in terms of their
I mean,
release dates.
If they announce Destiny 2 for November and fucking Red Dead Redemption 2 for November, every other game company's gonna be like, ugh, shit.
Yeah. Well, you know, Call
okay.
of Duty's going to come out then.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, if they release it, they can get killed off a little faster. The last one sold like dog shit compared to the other ones, right? So
They said they're going back to their roots, though. They're going back to either killing Nazis in World War II or Modern Warfare stuff.
well, it's
No
like
more
what?
space stuff. No more space stuff.
Good.
You know what?
I'll leave
I
that to
like.
Halo.
You know what? Like Rand, and I said this all along. They have 3 developers. Why not have one do past, one do present, one do future? Like that to
Yeah.
me makes the most fucking sense. Not have all 3 doing future. That doesn't make any sense. Like what
Let's
the
have
hell are
all
you
three
doing?
developers make the same basic game.
Yeah,
It's
it's
gonna-
like the same fucking game.
It's going to be interesting seeing people who have been so used to the movement model of Black Ops 3 and you know, this Infinite Warfare and, you know, with the exosuits and Advanced Warfare to suddenly go back to regular old boots on the ground, trench
Hey, if-
warfare, you know.
if they
Like,
do
They
just
might
regular-
actually have to have solid mechanics to make up for it.
Well,
Huh?
you're right,
Yeah.
yeah. Maybe update that engine. It's fucking getting a little old,
If
right?
they actually do
Well-
boots on the ground like that, I mean, hell, I'll be glad to clap on there and get some of the people who only just recently started playing
Come
it with
on,
the new shit.
Hellhammer, the second they announce whatever game it is and it comes with Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, you're buying it that second.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. Well, listen, like it didn't take me long to adjust to Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. I played that online. You know, because when I played the other games, I played them like the original Call of Duties anyway. Like I didn't do all flippy loops and fly all around. I was on the ground.
You probably
You know,
got
the first
dominated too, though.
Well, probably, but the first achievement I got in Infinite Warfare was boots on the ground for just not like jumping or wall running for 5 minutes or whatever the hell it
Did
was.
you notice that you were at a disadvantage not flying around the map like a crackhead?
Well, you know, I noticed. I don't know. Like I could do okay sometimes, but I definitely prefer like the boots on the ground thing. And I really like Battlefield 1. Like I thought that would be weird because it goes back in the past so far. but I really like that game. There's something about it that's a lot of fun, and I'm hoping that Activision goes that route. You know what I'm saying? I think Sledgehammer's a good developer. And I think that I'm definitely open-minded to what they offer, because I am sick of like the futuristic stuff. Even though I will say I loved the story in Infinite Warfare. I thought that was a hell of a campaign. But just the multiplayer is shit.
People are sick of it. You're right.
Yeah, the multiplayer is just complete and utter shit. Microsoft did finally drop some Halo Wars 2 advertisements.
They're pretty funny. They're pretty good, man.
Yeah,
Those
I
ads
liked
were
them.
great.
I was like, but why the hell did it take them so long to drop these things? They're great, you know what I mean? Like, I think they're fucking funny as hell. But man, what the hell took so long?
People ask, why is there no gameplay? Well, it's kind of hard to show an RTS in a commercial and be like, hey, buy this. There's real strategy in it, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, are you guys getting Halo Wars 2?
Pre-ordered it already.
Yeah, I got it too. What about you, Rand? Well, I guess I know.
I'm currently reviewing it right now,
Yeah.
playing through it. Can't say much. My review will probably be out sometime either tomorrow or Friday when I finish it. But I like what I played so far.
Are the embargoes up that soon?
Embargo, I believe, is up tonight at 2 a.m.
Oh, cool.
Yep. So yeah,
So
you'll
I
start
see
seeing
IGN and them talking about it in places. So
what like if you were to guess a Metacritic score, I'm at 86. What would you guys say? Don't all jump in at once.
I'm not touching that one.
Okay, yeah, because you're reviewing it. But what about you guys?
Oh man, I have no idea how well an RTS is going to score on console, regardless of how good it is when it comes to mechanics or gameplay. I don't know. I would probably guess around 80 would be close, but I haven't gotten a whole lot of hands-on time with it. I only played a few rounds in the beta, so it's hard to say.
Blitz mode was pretty damn good.
I'm gonna put it at 74 to 76.
Okay, well, the original Halo Wars got an 82.
Well,
Yeah,
that
but
was
that
before
came
the Xbox One existed, so
Yeah, that's
right.
what I was gonna say. That's before the Xbox One existed. That was on the 360. So
Yeah, people like the 360, but yet they hated the fucking Xbox One. I get you, but yeah, so it got a good plethora of reviews, and RTS games tend to review well. I think that this one will do pretty well. I'm at 86.
I think they're gonna give it, like, especially at some of these sizes. They always give games. They give these games to people that aren't fans of the type of game. You know, like the guy that hates Gears of War. They always let him review it at GameSpot.
Yeah, too much.
That's what's gonna happen to Halo Wars most likely. Like, they're gonna be like, I couldn't find out how to move these guys around. Like, it's gonna be some girl that couldn't find the settings before. You know, it's gonna be the same
Strategy involved.
scenario.
4 out of 10.
Yeah, so I say it's probably gonna be around 82, maybe collectively after a little.
Oh, that's pretty good. I'm going 86 just because I think that they've got really good developers on that game that with a pedigree for that style.
yeah, I mean, I only say 74 to 76, not because I don't have high hopes for the game, but just because I think that that people already now are kind of used to kind of either dumbed down games.
Well, mid 70s isn't bad anyway. That's considered a good score.
Yeah.
I consider it good. I mean, personally, I would say, you know, I have really high hopes for it. You know, hope that it's really, really good. But I mean, I just think that the way some people are, that there's not a lot of RTS fans out there as a whole, anyways. It's hard to find people who will be able to review it properly, honestly.
Yeah, well, hopefully they get some good reviews in there. You know, I'm tired of like the bias bullshit. We rarely get RTS games. It's a niche genre. I get that, but at least get somebody out there that is at least somewhat familiar, or maybe likes Halo or likes RTSs.
I mean, it's really just it's a niche genre just on the console market because it's so hard to do on the console. I mean, that's why Halo Wars 1 was so the original was so well regarded because it worked so great.
Well, I mean, like
on the
games
console.
like Supreme Commander 1 on 360 almost, you know, the control on that game with a controller was masterful almost. You know, that was, I don't know, that company doesn't exist anymore, but that was a really good RTS on 360. Probably the best to me personally. But it's doable, and from what I've played, it plays just fine.
Yeah.
Oh, who they get to do it.
Yeah, well, I dig it, man. I'm excited for it. I got the edition that gets you the definitive edition of Part 1 and the season pass and all that shit. So I think that's a pretty good deal. It's like $79 or something like that. So
that way you can play through Part 1 again.
Yeah, you get like two games and a season pass and on all that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited for it.
And you get to play
apparently
4 days early if you want to dish out the extra 20 for the Ultimate Edition.
yeah. Well,
Because
it's
the Ultimate Edition, like with Gears, remember Gears was 100. It was $40 more.
They
This
get
one's
you at that
only,
height too.
This
Man.
one's only 80. This one's $20 more than the regular, and you get,
yeah.
like you said, the season pass, the original game, plus you get to play it 4 days early. So I mean,
Yeah,
You get more than all the other Ultimate Editions, but it's less, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I did that with like Forza Horizon as well, and Gears and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's pretty damn cool. Did you guys hear GTA 4 is all we play as Xbox fans now because it's backwards compatible. We don't have any games. So yeah,
You know
That's
those
what-
guys, they'll find a way
And
to
let me tell you how about the last like 100 hours of gaming I've done with just bowling.
yeah. I mean, GTA 4. Like somebody like I've gotten this meme probably about 10 times now where the guy's carrying like all these like Miho and Gravity Rush 2 and Yakuza,
Just shit no
like
one
right. Yeah, like he's carrying all those games, and then it shows like a guy holding GTA 4. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, I did a funny little video with Capital Foundry where I showed the Xbox One backwards compatibility footage versus the PS4 backwards compatibility footage, which is nothing. It's just a blank screen. It's a joke that I do. It's funny, right? Haha. People get so pissed off over this stuff, right? Like, that's all you're playing. Like I'm knee deep in fucking GTA 4 right now. I literally played the game for 15 minutes to record it because I wanted to be funny. And then that goes back to the fucking pile of 360 garbage, right? I'm back on the other games now. You know, that's basically, you know, it's like they're pissed off.
Find a way to turn options into a negative because they're fucking.
Yeah, it's like the option to keep my fucking games is a bad thing now, right? Or that must mean that there's no games. Go ahead,
It's
Mike.
an example.
They
of
definitely
the,
didn't care when it was PS2 backwards compatibility last generation. So
Yeah, that's true.
Well, the
Go ahead,
whole
Mike.
like 7,000% increase is another example of how the media tries to flip things on the Xbox One. You know, saying it as a 7,000% increase in sales. How many copies of GTA 4 sold the week before it came out for backwards compatibility? I mean,
like 3.
yeah, like let's say
Yeah.
they sold 5 copies of GTA 4 last week. The 7,000% increase, that means that 35,000 copies were sold. Yeah, 35,000 copies for a game that old is awesome, but that's not going to put a dent in any, like, you know, NPD list or anything like that.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you, that's more than Niho sold in America, though.
Oh, that's more than they shipped to America.
Just did. Old games.
Yeah, that's
sell
more than
new-
Neho sold in the biggest market on the planet when it comes to
Old
video
games
games.
sell more than new PS4 exclusive.
Yeah, ouch. I mean, that's gotta
50 million PS4.
that's gotta hurt somewhat, right? I mean, come on, like
They
mean,
insult
look-
themselves without even knowing it half the time.
Here's what I gotta say about that whole thing, right? Like, you got these games that the backwards compatibility is excellent to have. I mean, look, some people go out and buy a new console. There's a lot of people are just now adopting to a new console, or maybe people that have this is somebody's first foray into console gaming, or whatever the case may be. People might not have played the game before. I mean, so it's good to have that option, right? I mean, it's not a super expensive game to buy now. So if somebody wants to play, say, a Grand Theft Auto game and they don't want to go drop $40 on 5, or they've already played through 5 and got their fills worth, they want to see what happened prior to that. I mean, that's a good option to have
yeah.
on any of these games. I
A
mean,
lot of
look,
people download the original, so should they just get their game back? Like, it's that simple.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a fucking option. It's not a bad thing, and I really get kind of sick of it being talked about as a bad thing.
I mean, to
ahead.
me, it added a bunch of features for me, right? Like, they had that Sonic racing game, All Stars Racing Transformed, right? I bought that like probably like a month or two before the Xbox One came out when it was on sale, and then never got a chance to touch it because I disconnected my 360 and all this other crap. I just like to have a simple setup. And then all of a sudden now it's backwards compatible. I can play it.
Yeah,
No problem.
No, that's a bad.
it is like.
That's a bad thing, Hellhammer.
Well, it's like, yeah, we're also part of EA Access, so you go look into the things ready to be installed, and it's like Skate 4, okay, Lost Odyssey, all this shit. You know what I mean? And it's like that to me, that'll never be a bad thing. I fucking
No,
games
that's
are.
a bad thing, crap. Don't ever say that again.
Yeah, I know, right?
Having
It's
an extra
like,
game
damn
to
me.
play is that's bad.
Yeah,
I already
play
have-
the games you already bought and paid for. That's bad.
I have 328 games installed right now, so adding another one would just be bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I even have more than that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we shouldn't even have got EA access. Microsoft should have did what Sony did and told us what was good for us, And
Yeah,
they really should
and we
step it
just
up.
bend over and take it.
Do you guys remember the big fucking sky is falling thing when they first did this, and everybody was like, "Thank you, Sony," because everybody was worried like, well, now that EA's done it, Ubisoft is next, and then Activision is going to do their, and everybody thought that, especially on the Sony side, like why they were happy with Sony saying that is like, well, I don't want to pay to all the different subscription services that all these companies are going to do, and it was like the only one who really could do it is EA because. Like they're the only one who has the actual library to support that.
And
like
you don't have to do it to everybody.
Yeah, and all the fear mongering that went on in places like NeoGAF over this, because I remember there was a lot of fear mongering that went over about this. Like, I don't want this to become a subscription service. Like, EA is the only one who could do it.
Yeah,
and it wasn't even like mandatory. And people were worried like, oh, they'll make things exclusive to EA Access, which they haven't. Besides,
they like to make money.
Announced, besides like the library and maybe the 10 hours you can play early. It's like the fears about EA Access when they announced it. How long ago? A year ago? 2 years ago? Haven't come to fruition. And it's a great service. I subscribe to it, just to have the games if I ever want to play them. But I'll definitely be using it for Mass Effect for the 10 hours early when that comes out in March.
I mean, that's brilliant, right? Yeah, I mean, like to me, that's fucking brilliant. Like I love that option, and I think that anybody that tries to say that it's not that it's a bad thing, they just been brainwashed, by
it's
Sony.
Only a matter of time for Sony says, okay, EA Access is coming. To PlayStation.
EA Access is coming.
Somehow we were wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
Man. The backtracking, if that happens, will be glorious to see. Can't wait.
I'm excited to see that for sure. Definitely. I got one more quick topic, and that is Digital Foundry has taken to calling the PS4 Pro boost mode. They call it beast mode. I don't know. I just thought that was a little bit funny, given that they
does hit 120 frames per second.
There's no fucking 120 frames per second. Jesus Christ, right? Like, look, how can they sit there and down talk the Scorpio 2 weeks earlier, and now they fucking literally call this, and they fucking show the update for every game. Here's how this game looks in PS4 beast mode. You get an extra 3 frames per second. It's amazing. It's a real game changer. And I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. You know what I mean? Like, fuck.
Well,
does anybody else not see a problem with this? I mean, come on.
Well, didn't the Xbox One S gave us a boost in getting a more stable frame rate and better resolution on games that had dynamic scaling right out of the box because it had slightly faster hardware in it to support the 4K
exact
Blu-ray
shit, bro.
drive.
Just not as much of a gain because it's not as quick as the Pro.
Right, but now the Pro, here it is. It's like like 4 months after the Pro launched, it finally gets this update to allow this to happen when you have more hardware. That should have been right out of the box. It should have done that for existing PS4 games.
There are people out there that think this is a software optimization to make the Pro faster. Okay,
to me, it just shows that the Pro was rushed.
Understand that they are literally. It's just Sony are basically removing that requirement that developers patch the game to unlock that other half of the GPU and unlock that CPU upclock to 2.1 gigahertz. They don't understand that technology is already in the box, and Sony are just now saying, okay, you don't need a patch. Now you can actually get games to run more consistently at their intended frame rates, right? It doesn't increase graphics. It only makes the CPU, if their game actually has an unlock option like VSync off in Rainbow Six, for instance, it can run up to 85 FPS. But that game wasn't patched for Pro. So
for games that have a locked frame rate, all it's doing is giving you a more stable frame rate at that locked 30 or locked 60.
And there's a reason it only works with games that have not already been patched, because previously the games that weren't patched couldn't receive those benefits of the extra GPU and CPU power.
Yeah, they were locked out of essentially locked out of the additional power.
So it's just a patch to let your PS4 Pro do exactly what X1S and Scorpio has already been confirmed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But Scorpio will obviously, if you're getting 85 on Siege with Pro on Beast mode, then you can turn VSync off on Siege on Xbox Scorpio, and who knows what ungodly frame rates you're going to get on Siege with that. It's the same exact concept.
Yeah, I think it's fucking interesting. I just thought it was funny that they're like, pixels aren't important now, power's not important now. It's all about games and all about this. And now they're like fucking beast mode. You know,
I want Scorpio to have that feature really bad, and like you said, it probably will because
It's already been confirmed.
well, yeah. So why not take advantage of the power? Like I would love to see games have that had frame rate problems have stable frame rate or.
Yeah.
Look at kind of like
like that
360
stuff.
back compat, right? Those games run better,
Yeah.
even though it's emulation. Those games, 99% of them run better.
Well, it's a good selling, but it's another reason to buy Scorpio. Like like I said, I don't think power is that important in the grand scheme of things because games is what matter. If you can tell me I can get a machine that plays those games at a higher resolution plus better frame rate and all these different options, and that's a good selling point for Scorpio, especially if everything works out of the gate. Like you said, why wasn't this with PS4 Pro in the very beginning? Where Microsoft is,
Well, I know why, and it's because it's something not really anyone's talking about. Sony have confirmed that some games in beast mode will crash frequently. The frame timings will be infrequent, and all-around performance can suffer on some titles because they're not designed. They have their physics tied to their game engine, which is tied to that 1.6 gigahertz clock.
Yeah,
And all this shit. So games can crash more frequently, and they advise you to turn boost mode off. That's why their API DX11 and DX12 take care of all that automatically on Xbox with Microsoft. Whereas Sony, they knew this would be an issue. They didn't want to mandate it and make it automatic because you want to be able to turn it off on those titles that crash. And that is the thing. That's straight from Sony.
Oh yeah, and that's just the truth, right? Like a lot of developers and stuff, especially if you're not working with DirectX or anything that's more direct to metal, you're gonna use little, basically kind of little like hacks and that kind of thing to make your physics engines work and that sort of that's tied directly to the hardware if you know exactly what you're coding it for.
Yeah. Well, look at like the first Dark Souls game. If you played that on PC and you upped the frame rate to 60 frames per second, they coded the game to have the weapon degradation. Basically, at how many frames your weapon was hitting something is how quickly your weapon degraded. So if you're playing at 60 frames per second, your weapons broke twice as fast. So that was like hard coded into the engine.
Yeah, and it's what it comes down to is it comes down to a lot of developers just being lazy or trying to they'll squeeze a little bit of extra power out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
consoles are their number one market by far.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you guys not find it a little bit funny that they've kind of,
it'll be interesting. I mean, this Scorpio, this shit's a first for anyone. Iterative upgrades and all this stuff. It'll be very interesting to see how Digital Foundry handle the Scorpio and what they say positive and how positive they are. I mean, they're calling shit beast mode when it gives you 15 FPS if you're lucky. It makes BF4 actually run at the frames it's supposed to run at launch. It's actually at 60 now. If they're doing this for that, they better have some real nice things to say. For Xbox.
I'm hoping so, but I don't exactly have any super high hopes. You know what I mean? Like
nobody can blame you.
Yeah, exactly. Ain't nobody can blame you, Crapgamer. But we've surpassed 2 hours. We've actually had a pretty good show. We hit like 565 earlier tonight.
Crap.
Still got
one. Don't want to mention the Sniper Elite thing or Sniper Ghost Warrior thing.
Oh yeah, the Sniper Elite thing, the Ghost Warrior.
Yeah, the developer who doesn't like the Xbox and Xbone this and Xbone that.
Yeah,
they had Big Daddy Phil made the phone call.
Yeah,
Killer Phil, as K Mega says, Killer Phil.
Killer Phil through the window.
Tim was going crazy with that, with like him as like Negan, like Piggy, let me in or whatever.
Yeah. When somebody finally brought it up to Phil, and he's like, "I don't like that one bit," and I was like, "Man, I did 3 videos about that developer." You know what I mean? And it turned out like I don't know, like that. I would never buy that fucking game anyway. But yeah,
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for that phone call.
Feels like, hey, what the fuck you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
It is nice to see Phil step up a little bit, you know what I mean? Like he's always the one saying Xbox gamers aren't second-class citizens, and I've always kind of said that too. Like I don't want to be a second-class citizen when it comes to Xbox. Like why that never made any fucking sense. So I'm glad that that got straightened out and that Microsoft kind of stepped in. You know what I mean? Like if I were them, I would have done the same damn thing. Sometimes you got to put your foot down. You can't be just like pussyfooting around with everyone. So, but yeah, I appreciate everybody coming out. Hellhammer, what do you got going on? Nothing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Probably.
Not much. Be back on here next week. Otherwise, that can be found on Twitter, XXLhammer, or Xbox Live, XXLhammer as well.
All right. Dealer, where can people find you at?
At dealer_gaming on Twitter, II space dealer space II on Xbox Live, and of course YouTube, Dealer Gaming. That's what it's called. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Rand, what about you, man? Where can people find you?
Well, I did a little sabotage. I posted my Sniper Elite 4 Nazi killing impressions while the podcast was live, so
Hey,
people
I do that
can.
shit all the time.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you do. So if you want to see some early impressions and some headshots and some testicle shots of Nazis, go over to my channels, YouTube, whatever, /RandallThor19. And TXR Podcast, we have Chris Charla from
ID at Xbox.
ID at Xbox will be joining us on Monday for an interview, so that'd be pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. And Mike, thank you for joining us. What do you got, man?
Hey, well, you guys can always find me Tuesday nights on Console Corner on GKB's channel. You can also find me on Twitter. Handle is @Cadus511. Xbox Live gamertag is Cadus. And feel free to look up my channel, do a search for Magic Mike's Minutes, and you'll find them. Hopefully I'll have a new video getting uploaded before the end of this weekend.
How do you spell that? That's that Cadus.
Cadus?
CAEDUS.
You might want to spell that out for now on.
Yeah, like he's like it's Cadus. I told him, I was like, Mike is much better than Cadus or fucking be Magic Mike or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, it's funny because he does YouTube videos called Mike's Minutes, and they're like 6 minutes.
It's minutes. It's plural.
Mike's
It can be
minutes.
as many
Yeah.
minutes as I want it to
Minutes.
be.
Okay, yeah, I gotcha. I totally understand. And thank you guys all for watching, man. Hell of a crowd tonight. Sorry GKB and She-Wolf couldn't be here. But yeah, thanks to Xbot too. He came in for a little bit to help out, and then he had to go. He had some stuff that came up, so he had to jet. He chatted. He left a little message in the chat there that he had to bolt. But I appreciate everybody catching out, and it's not goodbye. It's just till next time. Rack 'em up, and we'll catch you guys later.